A very warm welcome, fellow bearers of the curse. I hope you're all doing okay today. Now this is the second part of my Dark Souls 2 in-depth lore through. Please remember to like, and if you are new, subscribe. I hope you're having a very Merry Christmas, and I shall hand you over to myself. Please enjoy the video, and thank you again for watching. The Ouroboros. I mean, I messed it up. Maybe we should start Souls 1 parry times. What? That should have been a parry. Don't give me that game. Come on. We're going to beat him. Yes! Thank you, Jester Seamund. Okay. Right, I can get back to doing what I was supposed to be doing. And we got an ore stone. Excellent. So, welcome back, fellow bearers of the curse. Hope you're all doing okay today, and a very Merry Christmas. This is the second part of my lore through, my mini-series during the Christmas period. So thank you for joining me today. We last left off, we spoke to Melentia, we speculated about her questionable hands. We talked about her character and her dialogue, and we also speculated about this statue, this embracing woman, and what she may represent. I've had more time to think about this. We spoke about Vendrick, who was the founder and ruler of Drang Lake, King Vendrick. And although he wasn't a religious man entirely himself, he did still have clerics and still held religion within and under his rule. I believe this was probably here for his men, for morale, as of course this fort was made with the intent of fending off the giants. So of course many horrible sights a man would witness, and faith and religion would definitely be needed in those times. So of course having a shrine or a statue or something tied with the deity would definitely help the men's morale, as I said, and keep the spirits up. And again, we speculated that this may be why blood is found on the statue, due to someone praying at the time of their death, and now their blood is all what remains of their fate. Right, we'll rest at the bonfire. That was good to get invaded. I haven't been invading Dark Souls 2 in a long time, so thank you, Mr. Chester. We need to check upstairs and knock on some doors. Again, we can see that this room is covered. It's a beautiful set piece, to be honest, how the trees create this set piece, this canopy over the statue, and they wrap around the pillars. I think it's really nice. But if we pan our camera a bit further up, we can see that there is a gap to the above floor, and there is an item on the branch, so we'll be able to drop down from there. We have a hole with some ladders, and again you can see the roots even making their way down towards this hole. Now, was this hole intentional? Was this damage that was then created into an access point, kind of a repurposed damage in later battles of the war? Not too sure. But for those of you who have played, you know we can make it easier, not really sequence break the game, but definitely create a shortcut earlier than intended if we do the right thing, which involves throwing a firebomb at a certain point in the wall. Now thankfully a player has left a message here, try projectile, but you may be puzzled if you're a first time player, as obviously there is no, I don't think there's any explosive option in the soapstone message creator. But anyway, you rub yourself up against the wall. I don't know if we tried this last episode, honestly can't remember, and you kind of find the right spot and it should explode. Now I can't honestly remember where it is, but I'm just going off this message. You kind of clip through the wall, if I remember, kind of, and you kind of want your leading hand, the hand that's going to throw the projectile, to be furthest in the wall. But you see I can't pull it off, and we're going to do it the normal way anyway, as that's the whole point of this series, kind of encountering things naturally the way they're supposed to be. Of course, it's going to be a mini-series, so we won't be encountering everything, unfortunately. But as the squawking kind of quiets down and we come away from the humming of the bonfire, you can hear that ever so familiar sound of a crystal lizard. And we have a door here, a rather battered door, definitely seen better days, and it's locked. And again, Dark Souls 2, it tried a lot. I spoke about this last episode with how you can interact with the environment and use the environment for you or against you. And it just made the game much more interesting, as Dark Souls 2 is the most video gamey out of the Souls series, and what I mean by that is the levels feel much more like video game levels, whereas in Dark Souls 1 I can really immerse myself in the world of Lorethrough and almost imagine life. But in this game it's slightly harder, as I said, because it's definitely more video gamey, that classic kind of, I don't know how to really word it, but the way the level pans out, the architecture, the floor plan, items, item placement, whether it be just decoration or actual usable items that the player can pick up, it's all, as I said, classic video game. Whereas Dark Souls 1, you do definitely get that in areas, but especially, of course, the Bergen Parish are my favourite areas, and they really do take the cake in immersive world building and just level design. But I think we can all agree on that. If you've played Dark Souls 1, that the Bergen Parish, they're beautiful. That whole first section of the game, first half of the game before the Lord Vessel, is unanimously, I can't even say it, unanimously, kind of, I nearly got there, agreed that, of course, that is the better part of the game. But we won't get into that because we're discussing Dark Souls 2. So, we can't open the door, we can't go over it, we can't go under it, we're going to have to go through it. And how we go through it is we knock it down. If I can switch weapon without flicking through all these other things on the floor. There we go. And now you've got to be quick. You've got to be quick. Oh, he escaped. Did I get him? I got him. Titanite shard. Excellent. That is what we want. So, if I remember, I think I've run out of torches, so I can't actually light any more, as we burnt them all in the things betwixt while I was standing and talking about the area. Anyway, upon defeat of the invader, you get rewarded ore stones. Now, the champion, the Covenant of Champions, which is what we are currently in, the Victor's Stone found in Majula, it gives you ore stones upon every Red Phantom defeat. Now in New Game Plus, you have extra enemies, some of which are Red Phantoms. Actually, I don't know. I don't know if all appear as Red Phantoms or just majority do, but some appear as regular enemies without that kind of Red Invader glow. Anyway, upon the Phantom defeat, the Red Phantom's defeat, you are gifted one of these. And as I said, in New Game Plus, you get more enemies, and most of the enemies are Red Phantoms, so you'll get more ore stones. So this Covenant is not too bad on your first New Game, but your New Game Plus is where you'll receive more of these, unless you're really lucky or unlucky at getting invaded, of course. Anyway, really long-winded explanation, apologies for that. You know what I'm like. Ore stone, a stone that is terribly heavy for its size. Offer it to the Victor's Stone to strengthen the bond with your Covenant. The Victor's Stone thirsts for the souls of fallen warriors, condensed within ore stones as if they were once part of the same whole. Now we see more evidence of stone holding souls. Well, sorry, stones holding souls. Stone being a vessel for souls, although the souls that this contains doesn't allow the stone to move in any way. It just seems it likes souls, and it thirsts for fallen warriors, which is interesting. So the stone is sentient, as it knows what it wants. You could speculate. So really interested there. Again, we've talked about the themes found in Dark Souls 2 of rebirth, of recycle, rising from the ashes, being reborn, and of course stone, wood, and stone being a vessel for souls. If you play Demon's Souls and you remember Blacksmith Ed's dialogue, he says that ores are transmogrified souls, if I've got that right. They were transmogrified sprites, sorry. So they were once souls, now condensed into ores. The more powerful the ore, it seems, the more powerful the souls or soul it once was, depending on what it used to belong to. So that kind of theme again is carried on through the games, and we see it here. Just really cool again. From Software love their themes, no matter how obvious or subtle, they do reoccur through the series and the Soulsborne series as a whole, or franchise should I say. We get the small leather shield and repair powder. Repair powder, that's a nice thing to see, because as we mentioned, weapons are like butter in this game, but that's due to how the levels are mapped out and how the game actually plays. If you had Dark Souls 1's weapon degradation, I can't say that word either. Again, if it's the first time watching this and you've not watched part 1, I'm afraid. I am severely dyslexic. I will missay, I will misspell. I will just talk like an idiot sometimes, so forgive me. Bear with me. I forgot what I was saying, but yeah, weapons are made of butter in this game, but the good thing about this game is resting at a bonfire restores the durability. Small leather shield, small leather covered shield, a particular traditional type of small shield. Small shields are very light and easy to use, but not very stable when attacked. So I don't know if this is also a Parish shield. I don't think it is. No, it isn't. It's just a huge nipple. Yeah, just a huge... I'm not going to say it again. YouTube, please don't demonetize me. And of course we can't use this shield because we haven't got the attributes for it, but we're not using it to block, we're only using it to parry, so it's all good. Someone's left a comment on my video. Let's shout them out. Live recording here. Phantom G Chat, I can't pronounce that name. Great video. Thank you for leaving your comment. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. If you end up watching this again, thank you. Alright, put the phone down and continue. We can see there's lots of storage in here. We see explosive barrels. Again, this ties in with what we're going to see later, and I try to use that tactic through the wall. We see tables, we see boxes, and we see a cart. I don't know how they got the cart up here, especially through that door. They must have built it in the room. I don't know, but it's here nonetheless. We get the hand axe, a pretty good weapon. I will say so myself. A very good weapon in Dark Souls 1. I'm not sure if that carries over in Dark Souls 2, but I think it does. And I think it's actually pretty good in Dark Souls 3 as well. We get the Hollow Soldier Helm, which I believe we've already got a couple of them dropped for us. Okay, no we haven't. Helm worn by hollowed royal soldiers. Appears to be crafted with quality materials, but it is highly degraded and close to falling apart. Wearing this will be of little use. There we go, looking very swanky. I do like the design of this helm. The kind of front faceplate. I don't know. I've just always liked it. It's like a miniature Velstadt. You know, he kind of has that arrow-headed tip or point on his helm. You know? I don't know. I'm just kind of seeing Velstadt in this helmet. Currently, I've never really made that observation before. So, until we see his helm, which we won't in this mini-series, but I'm remembering his helm. I maybe remember it incorrectly, so do what you will with that observation, but interesting. And Velstadt and Raim, we won't be able to get into them, I'm afraid, as that is much late game, and Raim, who uses a raven as his symbol, he's in the DLCs. Now, speaking of ravens, this ties in with the pursuer, kind of, even though it's an eagle that drops the pursuer off. But we're jumping the gun a bit because we've not yet seen that boss and encounter. So we'll talk about the pursuer when we get there. But I believe in original drafts, it was supposed to be a raven, I think. And many people to this day still think it's a raven and use that in their headcanon to try and cram Velka in. But of course, it's not a raven. It is a eagle. we see a soldier. Again, Dark Souls 2, we've seen this in the Forest of Fallen, well, in earlier sections of the Forest of Fallen Giants, but kind of playing dead or just being so hollowed they become immobile until someone with souls crosses their path and kind of reanimates them, you know. But this acts as a trap. When you go to open this chest, he decides to get up and will cause you a bit of hassle. See if we can parry him. No. There we go. Shake that rust off. It's a shame I didn't manage to pull off the riposte on the invader, as yeah, I rushed it. I'm used to Dark Souls 1's parry and riposte time. I kind of forget that Dark Souls 2 has that delay. We get a small white soapstone and radiant life gem. So we see the return of the small white soapstone. Well, sorry, the white soapstone. However, this is the small version. It looks exactly the same as can be found in the first game, as in it's a white soapstone wrapped in kind of a golden fabric. Although, as I mentioned, it is a smaller version of it, so presumably a fragment of an original soapstone. We are used to fragments, of course, because we use fragments of Estus shards, and we graft them onto our original flask, which enables us to hold more Estus. So again, this is just another relic of times before, now shattered into pieces, but still usable. It's an online play item, of course. Be summoned as a shade to another world in order to help that world's master for a certain time. You'll be rewarded for successfully assisting the other player. The effect is start that one again. The effect is not as long-lived as that of the white soapstone, and it is used only in particular places. So, if I remember this right, you can't drop this down. As mentioned here, you can't drop this. You can only drop this down in certain places, whereas the white soapstone, you can drop it anywhere for the most part. And the duration of this summon sign is much smaller than the Big Brother version, as this does fade after a while, I believe. Again, don't really use it that much, because right round the corner you will receive the true white soapstone, which of course then you will continue to use throughout the game if you wish to partake in cooperation, in jolly cooperation. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Sorry, Solaire, don't get mad at me. So we drop down and we find a particular interesting item, a divine blessing. Now, I've referenced this description last episode, but now we'll be able to read it in full. Divine blessing, holy water, or as I call it, mama's milk, endowed with a divine blessing, cures status effects and fully restores HP. Water blessed by an ancient goddess, her name is long forgotten, and the Magic Academy of Melfia denies even her existence. In any age, there are those who refuse to see reason. It is their meddling that distorts the truth. And yeah, just really interesting themes, and a pattern we'll see throughout this game, as I've mentioned last episode, is due to so much time passing, people start to question the existence of past deities and past events. And here we see it. The Magic Academy of Melfia outright denies the existence of this so-called goddess, but again, they are of magic, so their interest is different to this ancient goddess, who we know as Guinevere, who of course was the daughter of Lord Gwyn, and she was in the miracle camp, not the magic camp. So it makes sense. It's more what I believe to be a political move to deny her existence more than a belief, you know. I think there's more strings attached to that belief than just time and ignorance. We'll drop down, we'll set the bonfire again, and we'll reset things. And we'll head the intended way, although saying that, we brought the key, so we may as well head back. I think I've purchased the key anyway, we'll see. We'll open Lanagras's door for him, and we'll be able to upgrade our sword. I think I probably will stick with the broadsword, just to honour Ian B in some way. As I said, this was his favourite weapon, or one of his favourite weapons, I believe, in his original Dark Souls 2 playthrough. Again, that can no longer be witnessed. Hasn't been able to be seen in many years due to him privatising a lot of his content. It is a shame, but that it's his own decision, and he had many reasons for doing so. So we're not going to spend too much time talking about that. Oh my gosh, she's gone and done it. She's gone and done it. This animation is extremely rare. Let me stand out of the way of the messages so we get a nice clear view. So for those who have played Demon Souls, the kind of woman who levels you up swinging her legs in a fashion or doing a cute animation should be familiar to you. And in Dark Souls 2, this is this game's version of it. She sits on the rock, hands back, and wiggles her legs very playfully. And I really like it, you know. It is a rare animation. You'll only see it a couple times in your playthrough, depending if you're paying attention, of course. But yeah, it's just a nice animation. We won't speak to her, as I don't think I have a shard. And we'll just kind of relish. Let her do that for a bit longer, as I said, because she probably won't do it again for this recording. We'll speak to Leningrad as we have the key. I think we have the key. I've not even checked. I've been claiming we have, and I don't even know. Where's the keys on this game? All the way over here. That's so far away. We did read it, but we'll read it again. Medulla, the land of exiles, is comprised of abandoned old houses, one of which Leningrad has fashioned into a workshop. Leningrad, I have your key. And before we talk to him, I don't think I mentioned this last episode, although I did intend to. Saint Riot, a fellow Souls creator who's been around for many, many years. Hopefully you guys will be familiar with him. I've referenced him last episode and his lore runs he's done of recent months, and he did one of Dark Souls 2, of course. And he mentioned that Leningrad's model is the exact same as Macduff's, which is the other blacksmith found in the Lost Bastille. And I'd never made that observation. Obviously Leningrad is different, he has shorter hair, but everything else about him is pretty much similar, including the band on his head. So yeah, just really interesting that it's just kind of a copy and paste with a slight few changes. Never really noticed that before Saint pointed it out, so in case none of you did, well, now you know.
I'm a blacksmith. I'm nothing without my tools. Bring me that key. Chop chop.
Chop chop, he says. I'll chop chop you, sir. I'll chop chop you. There we go. And again, why Leningrad decided to pitch up shop in here, presumably because, as we kind of theorised who came first in last episode, Morlin, he must have bagsied that building before Leningrad. But you know, we can see due to, well, maybe we don't know for sure, but because of the layout, and I'm assuming Leningrad didn't lug 3 anvils with him, so this may have also been another blacksmith. So yeah, it makes perfect sense, of course, for the town to have 2 blacksmiths back in the day, if it's ever been anything more than just a town of exiles. Again, we kind of speculated its history and its use last episode due to the crumbled fortifications that can be seen around this place, and you know, the missing roofs and the clear kind of hastily done repairs to the roofs. Anyway, so it makes sense one does presumably weapons and armour, and the other might do more simpler things. Maybe this was the simpler blacksmith, horses' hooves and other trinkets. You know, maybe, maybe not. Not too sure. Anyway, because Dark Souls 2 works in a certain way, we have to set the bonfire, and unfortunately the Emerald Herald will refresh, I believe. Oh no, she's still there. Okay. But it is Leningrad who will move. And here we see him. Hello, sir.
Stand back. This is dangerous work. The name's Leningrad. Just a simple blacksmith. And you are? Another useless traveller. A man ought to labour with his feet planted firmly in the earth. Not roam around like you flirtatious vagabonds. Oh, what does it matter? Go on, show me what you've got. your equipment. Let me have a look, but do it quick.
It's interesting that Lenny Grass, I always call him Lenin Grass, Grast, sorry, even though his name is Lenny Grass, so I'll just continue doing it my way, as I've been doing it for years. But anyway, interesting that his line of work, yes, is one of a man whose feet is firmly placed in one spot in his town, but he does orders of soldiers and of adventurers who, of course, wander the world. So it's interesting that he has that observation of what a man should do when he makes weapons for people who don't do that. Do you know what I mean? But maybe there may have been some personal history, not only with his daughter, but maybe a man was responsible for his daughter, which we won't meet this mini-series, but maybe a man was responsible for his daughter deciding to adventure herself. Maybe she fell in love with someone who, again, didn't like to have his feet firmly planted, so she chose the adventuring life as well. I don't know. I'm just trying to think why you would think like that. But anyway, we can purchase items off him. He sells the long sword, which is a C in both dex and strength, so we may go for the long sword. However, the broadsword, as you can see, although it's less in the attributes, it is more damage base. We have the falchion, Ouroboros' favourite weapon. We have the S-stock, a beautiful weapon. S-stock is absolutely, it's so good in all of the games. We have the rapier. Again, really, really cool to power stance these. If you hold two of the same weapon in your hands, of course, you can power stance. And doing that with the rapiers is pretty mean, I will say. We have the battle axe. We have my personal favourite of weapons, which is blunt and strike damage. The mace is especially good in this game, as you can see right off the bat, a B in strength, which is just absurd. But we're going to do something a bit different compared to my an undead pilgrimage. We're going to use swords, as you've been seeing. So, but for Elden Ring, I will be returning back to the blunt and strike life, as it's just too good. Now we have a spear. He sells arrows, and he sells titanite shards and one repair powder. If you remember, repair powder could be purchased from Elizabeth in the DLC of Dark Souls 1, if I'm getting that correct, and it could also be farmed from, who dropped it? I think another mob also drops it in Darkroot, or am I getting confused with Gold Pine Resin? I'm not too sure. We'll read it anyway. Enchanted metal rendered into powder, repairs equipment. Weapons and armor wear down with use. Allow too much wear, and you won't be able to use them. You have only yourself to blame if you find yourself in crisis with no powder to spare. Very true game. You can see it's pretty pricey there. 2.5k. We shall repair, well, fortify our weapon with the titanite shards we've been gifted. Got it to plus, yeah, can get it to +2, +3 is our next, and then +4 that actually requires large shards. Again, because there's no +15 upgrades in this game, you start hitting the large shards much sooner. And we'll keep the armor pretty much the same.
If you make it back.
Leningrass dialogue again is more just about his daughter, and we will speak to him later because of course we'll have to come back here. But I don't want to get bogged down with character dialogue too soon in this recording, as I kind of want to get stuck in.
Oh, hello again.
He says as he speaks to another NPC. Now, I believe, did he sell the infantry stuff before? I think he did. We haven't got enough souls just yet, but I will just buy some gubbing. There we go, some gubbins, just to keep him happy.
Thanks very much.
Because as I said, when you spend a certain amount with Morlin, his inventory expands, and I believe there's certain requirements that have to be met for it to keep on expanding. And we won't bother speaking to Solden, as I said. We'll come back and speak to these NPCs probably when a certain someone sits right there. Anyway, we're off. We're off to see the wizard. Right. I won't bother trying the tactic again. We will just go down the ladder and do it the natural way. But you can see, I think that's a pyromancer. Again, I don't know if this is a... I think that is an NPC phantom, not a player, because the NPC phantom has the pyromancy gear on it. Ha ha! And we've seen a pyromancy NPC a fair few times. Oh, of course we hit the wall. Of course we did. A fair few times through our adventures. Use one of the life gems. We love using them. Now, of course, we descended the ladder, and again, there's rubble here, and this was what's always led me to believe that this was a hole that was then repurposed as an access point, you know? I don't think they intentionally made this, they just kind of capitalised on its destruction. We see, again, soldiers kind of laying around, some are still standing, like, of course, the halberd soldier over here. We see another door and a stairway leading over there, which, if you remember last episode, we looked at the symbol of Drang Lake embedded on a plaque just in that courtyard there, and that door leads you to the giant, which ties into the later game. We have a typical door, does not open from this side. The memes of Elden Ring, including this message, were absolutely brilliant, and I still see them today, and they're still so funny. Again, will we see this message in Elden Ring? I can't remember if it was found or seen within the network test, but again, we see yet another plague door that does not open from this side, although we could put our arm through the barred door, as you know, and just open it, but never mind, we're not going to get into it. But we do see an item and other ways to explore, and we see what we know as players to be an elevator. Again, the fact that it's made of wood, and we've seen repairs and scaffolds on the outside, much more hastily done. This, you know, is in much better nick than the other kind of wooden structures we've seen. But the fact that it's made of wood may imply it was a later edition and installment due to what we'll find down there. And of course, what else we'll find is these fire flaming annoying salamanders. Now, these were in the original version of the game, the game we never got to play, of course, which was showed at E3. Again, to reference Crobat's video again, you can see rubble, you can see skeletons, and you can see fire literally coming out of the earth. Now, these relate to the old Iron King, and we've already seen the ironclad turtle knights, which also are creations of him kind of repurposed by Vendrick. We spoke about that last episode. But why else would these be here if it wasn't Vendrick's doing? Again, is this an old idea? I can't remember, because as I mentioned last episode, Dark Souls 2, it suffers the worst from old ideas still lingering in its design and never getting fully realised. And due to, again, the development of this game, some things made it through without being fully explained, and they tried their best to make it a full, complete picture. But as I said, it was a rocky development for many reasons. So is this, again, remnants of old ideas, and they decided to keep in. I've always struggled to really think as why this ties in here, other than Vendrick just kind of, you know, keeping them as pets. But you know, this is a huge these things aren't friendly to the soldiers. They're not friendly to us, and you can imagine they're not friendly to the soldiers of Drang Lake, so why else keep them here? You know? Again, Vendrick and the Old Iron King are connected, and this just is another one of those loose connections. Could imply a lot. See a player here, battle axe and what seems to be longsword or the broadsword doing work. See yet another hollow face down, kind of resting, so hollow he can barely move until he's aggravated, of course, or until you pick up this item, I think. Yep. Again, another little sneaky trick. Dark Souls 2 loves them. Oh, I didn't mean to do the shield bash, for God's sake. I do that a lot by accident. And again, it's locked. And we need the soldier key in order to unlock that. Soul of a lost undead, so probably an explorer much like ourselves, who unfortunately fell victim to the soldiers. But yeah, this place is really beautiful in the version of the game we never got to play, with the lighting and stuff, and it worked a little differently. You would progress through this area, as I said, slightly different to what we can do now, as that part of the level, its layout was different, and it's just interesting to see the change in ideas. I always loved seeing the development of games and how they change, especially when it's Dark Souls related. We can see a seam in the rock where the textures connect, running down through the middle there, and of course if we poke our heads through we can see the forest in the distance. I don't think we can see anything else, as I don't think Drang Lake Castle is on this side of the mountainscape. But still just cool. I love looking through the windows and stuff in Souls games. There's stuff you usually can't get to see or pay attention to. Oh, I missed. Now the area we're about to go through, again we'll talk about this when we get there, but the area we're about to go through is annoying, pardon me, to say the least. It is very annoying, and I'm sure I'll die through here. I am still in human form yet, but just expect me to die, as I always do once through here. Especially when you get hit in the head and stunned by an arrow like that. Wow. I won't say that again in fear of it happening a second time. I don't even know where that arrow... Oh, he came from, of course. It came from over there. Good shots. Yeah, the stunning due to the headshots, again, is really cool and something that's kept from Dark Souls 1. But there's other enemies that can attack you in this, much closer than the archers. And it's just a huge pain. There's also areas due to the construction. This is another example of kind of hasty repairs and scaffolds that we've seen in an earlier area where we got the fire longsword. And due to that, there's holes that you can drop through if you roll, and will surprise you with a quick death. Due to Dark Souls 2 fall damage is much different from the first game. The first game, it worked as if you were heavier, you would receive more damage. So obviously the lighter you were, the better it was for you. Whereas in Dark Souls 2, I believe it's just a set damage amount depending on the distance. And of course, also depends on your health. So one fall may kill you. You come back later, you try it again, you may survive depending if you've leveled up your health. But yeah, just annoying. This enemy especially is a pain. Oh, okay. I didn't actually mean to do that, but that worked out. That worked out. I promise you, I didn't mean to fall and do a plunging attack. Wow. Okay. Full of surprises. He dropped down. Yeah. This is the best way to approach this area, due to it offering you the most protection. But of course, you've got to quickly heal after receiving full damage if you don't take that guy out with a plunging attack like we did. And if this guy drops in just behind you, it can be pretty difficult to handle as you're trying to heal. You're dealing with multiple enemies, and you can still be struck by the arrows. So again, it's just it is an annoying area. They really thought of all the possibilities to get you in this section, and that can happen. This is the same archer who was shooting us. Before when we were. Is it the same archer? Have I got that wrong? Is it? I don't think it is actually. I'm going to take that back. It isn't the same archer then who was shooting us before we reached that part of the map, or is it? It might be actually. I may be making that up. Ignore me. Anyway, yep, you can see just receiving all the shots, and you've got to be careful because you can over jump and roll off. You can also be struck in the head while making that jump, and it will stun you, it will stagger you, and it will cause you to fall to your death, as the water here cannot be navigated, as it is just an instant death. Again, just really cool, as we pointed out, the kind of hastily done repairs. We see more evidence of routes enabling us to navigate the ruins, again replacing prior access points, just showing how it's become the new ruler of the ruins. Again, we make eyeless connections and talked about that observation last episode, so I won't rehash too much, as last episode was a long one, which I'm proud of, because I do want to make these episodes pretty lengthy due to being a short series. So here we're clearly in a mine. We had an Indiana Jones moment. Presumably this soldier, this infantryman, somehow always kills himself by rolling the ball. It's been there since the original game, and it's here now. And the ball, I'm going to rate that just because that's funny, but don't believe any messages here, and always check your blood stains. So it seems people may have tried it for themselves. Let's see. Yeah. You idiots. So bravo, sir. Yeah, don't try that. Got a human FT, should I say. And further up here is an NPC I really like, but first we'll take out this enemy, because he can quite bothersome out while you're trying to have a nice conversation with this chap. Amber Herb, thank you. We've already read one of those, haven't we? I think we've already, got 3 of them now. So here is an NPC called Kale. We can see he's digging through the ruins, clearly in search for something. He must be pretty handy to make it in here, but also maybe not. Maybe the enemies just don't see him as a threat, due to the archer and the infantryman who was stood here with the ball. So again, he's been here for a while for this ball to be here after him, if you know what I'm saying. Maybe, I don't know, did he squeeze past the ball? I'm not too sure, but really, really interesting. Again, definitely hidden out of the way, because the item he holds is a key which allows you to gain access into the mansion. But Kale, to me, he has one of the best armors in the game. I really like his set. It's just so cool, especially the headpiece. It's honestly, it's very simplistic, but like visually, it's awesome. Like I love the style of the cloak, the belts, again the chainmail helm with the steel dome. I love it. I love everything about Kale and his character and armor design.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just daydreaming, I think. My name is Kale. I'm a traveler, like yourself. I'm navigating the continent to create a map.
So he's navigating... Oh, sorry, I hit the mouse. He's navigating the continent to create a map. Now, this relates again to what we found in the mansion, so we won't discuss too much of it. But Kale is another example of people wandering or ending up in Drang Lake and being confused as to why they're here and what their reason really was for it.
Why cartography, you ask? Well, that's a good question. When I first came to this forsaken land, it was um, a curse? Something about a curse? How embarrassing. I seem to have lost my focus. But I do know one thing for certain. I have always been very fond of maps.
Again, was it the curse? Is that his reason? Was it the maps? I think I spoke about this last episode, but is there a prophecy, much like Astora or Oscar's family, saying, thou who art undead are chosen, thine exodus, make a pilgrimage to the land of the ancient laws, blah, 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 right? We've all heard it 1,000 times. But is there something along those lines? Is there... Because the Estus flask doesn't make reference to the Dark Tales in this game. The Dark Tales is only referenced in the original game. So, you know, like, why are people ending up here other than something drawing them to the land? Is there a prophecy attached to it? There's got to be something, right? And again, I spoke about this last episode, but the subject around people kind of ending up in Dragon Lake and being pulled towards this forsaken land, I speculated in the very early days and was excited about it being related to what King Bendrick unlocked or found or discovered when he peered into the essence of the soul. But again, that we spoke about this last episode, and that seems what he found and discovered seems to be the kind of golem technology, which triggered the war with the giants, because he went over there, conquered the giants, stole something from them, presumably the golem technology, and kind of unlocked the secrets of how a soul can inhabit a vessel, and that can be used in your favour. You know, presumably that is what that's about. But anyway, we talked about this last episode, so we'll continue speaking to Kale before I go on another tangent.
I came to this land some time ago. Drangleic, the Lost Kingdom. It sounded so romantic. Have you seen Majula? Oh, there's a rather spacious mansion there. I've made it my temporary home. Well, as something of a squatter, I'm afraid.
So it's known, of course, we've heard people call it the Forsaken kind of place, Forsaken Kingdom, but it is known to the wider world to be a place that is no longer all singing and dancing. You know, the world has kind of moved on, much like Lorethrough was in Dark Souls 1, it seems. The other countries in the world, yes, they have their problems and been affected by the curse, but it appears Drangleic is no longer the focal point of the world. It's kind of a long-lost and ancient memory.
Inside the mansion, I found a strange map, like none I'd ever seen. I believe that it's a map of Drangleic. Now I'm traveling the land to prove it. Yes, that's it. That's why I came to the kingdom. Wait, no, that wasn't it. Then what? I don't seem to recall.
Yeah, again, just really cool, this theme of the human side of the curse and how it affects the mind. And again, to say it for the 1,000th time, we discussed this last episode. So again, I may be rediscussing some subjects if we get some more information, but I always want to be finding new subjects to discuss, as this is a mini-series and I can't really afford to rehash the same subjects and points all the time, as that would be boring, to be honest. Even I'd get fed up with that.
Were you looking for that map? Wonderful. Then you're fascinated by maps, just like me.
Yes, I so am.
Shame on you. You should have told me before. Here, take this. A key to the mansion.
Thank you.
What a joy to meet a kindred spirit out here.
Now, Kale also has dialogue tying in with a different NPC who we probably won't be able to encounter, that being Creighton the Wanderer. which also ties in with another NPC, Pate, which we'll meet shortly, very shortly.
Incredible, really, isn't it? Such a map to be chiseled in stone. Oh, but one thing. I would not venture deep into the mansion. Now, I can't be certain, but I've heard disturbing noises. Something about it feels wrong. Just be careful, please.
Oh, it's nice. It's nice Kale is concerned for our safety. He is a nice guy.
I'll be back in Majula soon. Perhaps we will meet again.
And I believe that's the dialogue.
I'll be back.
Yep. The move on dialogue, the I'm going to move soon dialogue. So I think Kale moves on after the last giant is defeated, much like Melentia. I could be wrong. He could move on if you rest at the bonfire. He could move on if the pursuer is defeated. I'm honestly not sure of the trigger to get Kale to move. Okay, this is why I was getting mixed up with this archer, as this archer can sometimes cause you difficulty. I think he will sometimes attempt to fire on this section of the map. Now this section is what's locked behind a door requiring the soldier's key, and we'll talk more about that later. But for those who were back in the day around the community and remember VatiVideos, and I think Dave Control featured in it as well, but it was uploaded on VatiVideos channel, and maybe Dave Control, if he was, also included in it. But in the early days before we got Dark Souls 2, VatiVideo had hands-on time with the game, and some of his videos discussing the game's mechanics and features were kind of shot in this area, and some footage was taken from this area. Again, more useless knowledge of the community back in the day, but there you go. Right, we're going to say goodbye to this place. We can actually get this item down below, so we may as well get it while we're here. Because I'm not going to come back here again. Once I do it once, there's no incentive to do it again, but of course... Oh, it's a Titanite shard. I think the other side is the useless item, but I remember this being another amber herb or spice in the original game. Could be misremembering. But again, we can see this was a frequently used point of access between the two areas, but due to the war, it's become just inhospitable. You can't go through here carrying cargo, or infantrymen as they may slip off and fall and drown in their suits of armour. And of course scaffolding obstructs the way now due to the fort becoming ruins. But again, back in the day, if you can imagine, I'm sure this path would have been used quite a lot, as it also ties in with the mine, which presumably was created for resources. You'd hope so anyway. It wasn't just created with the intent of sticking a big ball in there. But anyway, climb up the ladder and we're back on the tree. You see a few bloodstains. People online struggle with this bit. And the mine would have been accessed through various different points, this being one of them. You can actually see, rather funnily enough, I think you can see trees through there. Yeah, so although this this implies that it's going into the mountain, they haven't actually textured it, and you can see kind of greenery and another mountain range behind that. So yeah, just rather interesting there. Presumably, maybe due to how the wall has crumbled and how it kind of goes into the rock, maybe that too also led into the mountain there, but maybe not. Again, we get more signs of damage, just bits of rubble everywhere, dug up by the roots and war, which is really, really cool. Tops of trees, and an area down here, which, yes, this is the area that we can go in via this route, and we'll be there shortly. Now here we have another turtle knight, another ironclad knight with his rusted armour. Very heavy armor, as you can imagine. Their weapon, I don't think they drop. I didn't want that to happen, but never mind. I don't think they drop their weapon. But they drop everything else. Could be wrong on their weapon. But it would be cool if they did. Again, use the environment to your advantage. Get enemies to swing at certain points. If you haven't got a firebomb, you can get the enemy to throw theirs. And if... Oh, he's coming in, is he? He's coming in. If time right, he will explode it for you. But sometimes he will fall off his little pedestal. And he'll make it very difficult for himself and you. So always buy some before you move to that area without relying on that enemy, because he can be unreliable. Now their shield bash, hopefully I'll be able to show it. Okay, no, I need him to shield bash me again. Okay, no, I'm timing this terribly. Shield bash me. Shield bash me. Do it. Right, anyway, I'll just kill him. Very annoying enemies, these. There you go. You see, although he was swinging with his shield and we were clearly striking his body, it was... You can see as we get more damaged, we start to hunch over, I think. Yeah. And as our health regens, we kind of... Our posture returns. Why have I not got any of my Estus on my... What am I doing? On my action bar. Never mind. Same can be said in Demon Souls, but with armor and carry rate. Depending on your equip load, your stance will change, should I say. In the remake anyway, I'm not sure about the original. So your posture will become more hunched over the more heavy you are. Yeah, I think we're more stood back now, more upright than we were before. Interesting detail. Anyway, wow, what? Oh, he's got the twin blade. Cool. And he's got the dragon charm, which is the best chime for casting miracles in this game. We have to defeat a boss, a certain dark lurker. For that pretty hard boss, due to the requirements that are needed to actually face it. But anyway, getting way ahead of ourselves. The spear and shield enemies, that shield attack they do, it still counts as... If you hit them while they're doing it, it still registers as their shield that you're hitting, and it will always register as just that. So be wary. Don't try and meet their hit with your own when they do that attack. Just wait for them to finish and wait for another opening, or just bash them, because it will count as chip damage on their shield, and it's just annoying, really. Dark Souls 2 hitboxes does have its problems. I'm not going to be one of those who denies that it doesn't. But all Souls games have problem with hitboxes. Some more glaringly obvious than others. And due to Dark Souls 2's adaptability mechanic, kind of hitboxes can rear their ugly head. On the early phase of the game, there used to be an infamous glitch with hitboxes and collision involving the... I was going to say Flame Lurker then, but that's Demon Souls. The Smelter Demon. You used to be able to get stuck, and then you would like get flung to the other side of the arena, and you wouldn't be able to leave it. And you would just roll in the corner for eternity. I remember that back in the day. Don't hit me! Thank God. You little bastard. Okay, we got time to see him. Hello, Mr. Pursuer. That's a rare attack. That is a rare attack. Oh, we're getting hit. We're getting hit. Adaptability. Save me. Okay, we die. We die. So yeah, don't bother with the guy in the corner. He will mostly stay there if you don't go over to that area. As the mistake we made also, although you may think you're safe for Chug, because again, the adaptability and the fact that the Chug is much slower in this game, you will be often caught out by it. Anyway, this encounter with the Pursuer, now you can face him later in the game, but you can also fight him earlier if you wish. My god, the speed! Whoa! Okay, because we've died actually, he won't appear, and that's why we have all these enemies. I forgot about that. So if you don't defeat him the first time, you kind of don't get a second. Oh my god, the fucking... Right, oh, I've just gone to that corner. I've said don't go near that corner. What am I doing? Will we be killed? Will we be killed? Nearly. If they didn't decide to go for a heavy attack. I need more stamina. I haven't got the Calamity Ring yet. Which I can't remember if it's a placebo, that's not how you say it, placebo in this game. But the effect for the Calamity Ring is horrendous. We have another torch, thank God. We have a human effigy and a life gem. Estus flash shards, so that is definitely worth coming up here, whether you die to him or manage to kill him. You can just quickly grab this item if you wish. And of course we have this guy in the corner, which just, well, because I'm salty, there we go, we'll hit him off. And repair powder. So due to the amount of undead corpses here, the Pursuer, he's visited a few times and claimed many lives, and we'll talk about him when we face him in his boss fight, because it's honestly better to face him there just due to its, you know, it's his boss arena. It's his boss arena really, and you don't really get that kind of encounter later in the game, although you do see him many more times. But we'll talk about the Pursuer and there possibly being more of him a bit later on. But anyway, the reason why I came up here really was to, one, show him off, but also two, to discuss. For those of you who remember, okay, that is the archer actually, that shoots you when you're first going into this area. I was getting him mixed up with the archer down there. Anyway, for those of you who have been a Dave Yognaut for many years, you may remember one of the former members of the Yogscast, that being Strippin. Now Strippin is no longer part of the Yogscast. He hasn't been for, again, many years at this point, but he once was, and I watched his Dark Souls 2 playthrough, his playthrough, and many others I watched, of course, when the game first released, as well as playing it, as well as me playing it by myself. And Strippin was the first person ever in the world to defeat the Pursuer at this point in the game. He did it with, I think he must have been a lower level than us, maybe around about the same level, around about the same equipment and upgrade materials, and he defeated the Pursuer, and he was the first person to do that. So yeah, if you remember that, and were a fan of Strippin and watched his original playthrough, again, I don't think that's available on YouTube anymore because he got rid of those videos, which is unfortunate. Yeah, that's a thing that happened in the community that not many people probably remember, but it happened, I promise. That's why the plunging attack sucks in this game, because in Dark Souls 1, oh, of course, in Dark Souls 1, because it kind of, it doesn't really track, but the hitbox is larger when you fall on an enemy. Oh god. What am I doing? We may as well just die, to be honest. You can pull them off more, whereas in this game, oh, I thought he was going to do it. Where in this game, yeah, plunging attacks, as I mentioned in previous episodes. And the hitbox there, as you saw, even though we rolled through, we got hit. Again, just need to level that adaptability. Need to be a bit quicker. And we are nearly dying. This part of the game will often get many players due to the amount of enemies and just the shield guys. This spear and shield guys are just so annoying, and the enemies have kind of hyper poise. They'll often just ignore your attacks, but they sometimes will get staggered. We are wearing the stone ring, of course, I believe. Yeah, the stone ring, which enables us to do more poise damage to enemies. So if you haven't got that equipped, definitely do. I just can't spears when it comes to parrying. There we go. There we go. The first one missed. I don't know if that should have hit or not. Never mind. I'm not going to get too salty with the hitboxes. But again, we see more evidence of kind of storage. Presumably, these were once black. Well, yeah, we can see there. So they once contained gunpowder, but now nothing. I don't think these can be exploded. Kind of the paint is chipped away, and the gunpowder removed or long gone. And the black powders again indicate that they can be blown up, or if struck, they will explode. So just be careful when around them. Now, I will actually say there is a tactic I always use in this area, and that is the witching urns. Now, we picked them up just outside there, if you remember when we first came into this hub area, this bonfire. And I always use them in this spot because there is a small collection of enemies that appear right out here. They fire the trebuchets, and they all emerge out of this hole. Usually together, but it appears not this time. Okay, now we go. They're a bit... Oh my god. Yeah, usually they come all clumped together, so when throwing that urn, it has a large blast radius so you can catch multiple enemies at once. But don't try and, if you can save them, don't try and use them at that encounter because they'll come in handy just through there. We'll speak to that armoured man in a second, that shiny helmed man, but we shall first read, if I can get my menus right, the green blossom. Green weed shaped like a leafy flower, temporarily boosts stamina recovery speed. At one point this herb was avoided due to its unusually bitter taste, but once its effects became known, it was harvested to near extinction by merchants. Now only exceptionally rare wild specimens of this plant are left. And if you remember, green blossom could be farmed from the poison manta ray frog type enemies. I can't remember the actual name of them. That could be found in Darkroot Garden. What's our health at? We'll use a life gem. So again, you got to think like about this choice. Surrounded, we'll read the blue wooden shield in a minute, and we'll read this spell. But you know, this hole was presumably made, they were pushed back, and I guess they built these in this room, or they may have managed to fit them through this crack if the rubble wasn't here entirely. I'm not too sure, but again, they've made a choke point and intended for the enemy to be funneled through. Now, judging by the size of this hole, we can believe, if you played this game, you'll know, presumably a giant made it. And yeah, they kind of turned this hole into a choke point, which they use against us. You can use these ballistas for yourself, which kind of gives you an indication of the fact that they can be used a bit later if you remember that, hey, I can use these things. So you can, if you're doing invasions or you're getting invaded, you can often use these. But that one strikes the wall, and this one, of course, doesn't shoot down range, so it's only that centre one that actually goes the full yards. But yeah, just really interesting. And of course we found some items on some fellow undead adventurers, presumably killed by the ballistas. And what did they drop? They dropped the blue wooden shield. Wooden shield used from ancient times. Inferior to metal shields in terms of stability and physical damage reduction, but easy to use and weighing so little that it hardly requires any strength to bear. You can see its carry weight is 1. And the pattern, I guess, is kind of reminiscent of the heater shield, although not exactly. But due to kind of the blue and white streak, the blue pattern with the white streak, maybe so. Maybe not. But the heater shield was metal, of course. And I believe that weighed 2, not 1. Heater shield is very, very good, by the way, if you've never used it. A spell superior to Soul Arrow, more powerful and effective at damaging enemies. I can't speak today. At damaging enemies resistant to physical attacks. The strength of this spell is influenced by one's intelligence. So nothing on its origins or its creator, just kind of the typical it does this description. As you know, the more potent and rare and powerful the spells and miracles, the better the lore on them, the less generic they become. You can also hear whispers. These disembodied whispers that play all throughout this area. Now, could these be voices of the dead? Souls and whispering voices in the ambience isn't alien at all. It happens in the first game, and in the first game, in many areas, there is there's this slight sound that you really have to pay attention. There's footsteps, like echoing footsteps, that can be heard, as well as like a clock ticking in the background. Again, very weird ambient sounds, and plays in many different areas throughout Dark Souls 1, but it is there if you have got good headphones or your volume high, I guess. Yeah, just again, more useless information if you've never noticed that before. Now in Dark Souls 2, not only do you have mimics, but you also have trapped chests, and we get gifted a Titanite shard, of course. And here we see, we'll talk about that in a sec, but we have mimics, and now we have trapped chests. So this is where your fear of wooden chests, if you weren't already hitting them, is established, really. You have poison chests, and you have the crossbow chests, and they have a white smoke. And you also have this red orb explosion chest, but they're much rarer and only in certain points and less frequent. Again, seen a lot of people dual wield, which is good to see. Hopefully they've gave Dark Souls 2 another playthrough due to Elden Ring, as Elden Ring, you know, has brought a lot of the features from Dark Souls 2 back, and it's great to see. Now this door cannot be opened the traditional way. If you hit it, the guards inside will open the door. So really, again, just a really quirky mechanic, and just shows what they were going for when they weren't afraid to experiment. Oh, the tracking. The tracking. So Dark Souls 2, where Dark Souls 1, yes, they do turn on their axis, even after their strike has started hurtling towards you or the ground. Dark Souls 2, the enemies turn on their axis much more. I don't know the word, but they're more fluid, you know, on the axis than other Souls games. So don't think, oh, he's committed to that direction, I'm safe, I can roll like I did, because they will just track you and kind of predictive hit where you'll land. So again, annoying, and you'll often see it again with these. I don't know how he not hit me. You'll see it with the spear guys, as we've encountered it a few times while fighting them. But of course that means we've got to do this all over again, and it's great. But yeah, also don't try and parry everything. when you're unfamiliar with the parry times, as that also doesn't plan out. There we go. Come on, guys. I don't know what's up with them. And they managed to explode the barrels in the other zone. Excellent. Well done. Oh, he's late to the party. Do you know what I mean? They're not doing very well this game session. Usually they're a bit more. I'm gonna try and parry them. Oh my god, did you see that? He somehow still managed to do his attack while falling off a ledge. He didn't get interrupted, it didn't turn into a different type of attack. Whatever. Honestly, combat in Dark Souls 2. All I'll say is just level adaptability. We'll wait for him to come. Are you coming up? No. Dark Souls 2, like the other Souls games, you have to think before you do. Like 100%. Dark Souls 3, there's much less of that due to the fast nature and roly-poly and just anime style of weaponry that it has. And it gives the player a lot of chances to get out of situations, whereas earlier Dark Souls don't really do that. You know, as I said, you're kind of committed to your action and you'll be punished if that action was an incorrect choice. But you know, Dark Souls 2 mixed with adaptability can make it a bit annoying in the early stages. So I'll just say, just give it time if you're first time player and you're kind of being frustrated with the combat coming from a faster paced game like Dark Souls 3, which is, don't know if I've mentioned in this series. For those of you who know what I'm going to say, cover your ears because you're probably sick of hearing it. Especially you, Monk, if you listen to this, mate. This one's for you. Dark Souls 3 is my least favourite, and Dark Souls 3 to me has a case of kind of confused identity. After Bloodborne and the improvements and changes of the combat, you know, the unique changes which make Bloodborne and great, they kind of tried to carry that through Dark Souls 3, but they also had to remember that Dark Souls 3 is a Souls game, so it's kind of a bit confused between it wanting to be Bloodborne and wanting to be Dark Souls, you know? So it is the most alien out of all the Souls series, including Demon Souls, when discussing combat, due to its flippy, roly-poly nature, which I'm not a fan of particularly. And Elden Ring has definitely gone down the faster-paced route, which of course makes sense. But due to the kind of strength being tied with carry weight and what they've done with poise, it'll be much better. And the kind of one-hit system, that you no longer get 2 guaranteed hits if the first hit connects. You know, your enemy won't be stunned, or your invader or invadee won't be stunned by your first hit. They can roll out of that first strike, which to me is a much better improvement, as I hated that 2-hit guarantee. It's always frustrated me in the Souls games. Anyway, enough about moaning. We have the life ring and we have the large titanite ring. I think there's another chest in there. Oh, no. We've now got enough. Honestly, from playing this game many years and kind of doing this area and doing everything that we've just done many times, seeing the amount of souls in my bottom right saying 4001, I've seen that amount so many times, honestly. So many times over the years, and here I see it again. So that we need 4 grand, 4 big G's to buy a certain lockstone, which enables us to open another cubby hole in that room. But if you remember, the life ring was a ring we could select. Again, I'm so bad with the menus, please forgive me. Ring we could select from the starting character creation, but again we didn't choose it, we went with the petrified something. So the life ring, an old ring set with a red jewel, raises maximum HP. Each ring has a different power, and even very modest rings can be a great boon on a perilous journey. Now the life ring will equip it because we've got 4 ring slots in this game rather than 2. Increases your maximum HP ever so slightly. As you can see there now, our HP is increased somewhat. And the life ring was also, well, that was the, how was it worded in the Dark Souls 1? The beings, forgetting what it was named in Dark Souls 1. But the description in Dark Souls 1 made you think it would regen your health, not give you a tiny little extra. And it's in Dark Souls 1 that Siegmeyer gives you that ring after you help him with the Anor Londo Silver Knights. The Tiny Beings ring, I believe it's called, yeah. And I think that works very much the same as the life ring found in this game. Oh, why did I sit at the... Oh, I sat at the... I only needed to buy... Oh, I'm such an idiot. That's what happens when I talk and I'm not paying attention. So we buy the Pharos Lockstone. We read the description last episode, so now I will show you guys how it is used. But again, most of you will already know this. But again, interesting that she has one. She's a scavenger, she's an opportunist, so it makes sense. Don't try and... Oh god, he's still going. Don't try and ignore these guys, because these guys will run off the ledge and chase you. I do like the broadsword, but it is a bit too stubby for me. So you see some of those strikes after your first initial hit. You will often go out of range, so that second hit won't land. Which of course is a bit annoying, because the enemy can attack you while you're flailing like a madman in front of them. So yeah, just be careful, because there's no wall for the rest of this, and they will just run off the edge and become a nuisance for you. But we see signs of places we'll be able to go a bit later, which ties in with that access route there. And you can see enemies just sat. Now we'll talk about what this used to be like in the original game when we get there, but let's first enter this room. Whoa! For again for the millionth time. How are you not dead? No messing. Oh. See what I mean? And in this game you can be... That was very close. That was very close. You can be hit while you're performing critical attacks, whether it be a backstab or a riposte. You saw we took damage there, which is a change they introduced from Dark Souls 1, so you're not completely invulnerable. A change I do like, but just be careful, because in Dark Souls 1, as some of you may know, you could really capitalise on being invulnerable in times of a parry and riposte, as it enabled you to get in the middle of an enemy, perform a parry, do the riposte, and as I said, while the rest of the enemies are wailing on you, you of course couldn't be damaged. And by the time they kind of stopped their combos, you were out of your riposte and you could kind of clean up. So just be wary, you're not really going to be able to pull that off in this game. Come out, there you go. Knock knock. Wing Spear, getting all the drops. There's another one in there. There's another one in here. He is. Knock knock. Now the Wing Spear, we'll read that of course, because that can only be... It can be found later, but we got it dropped by these guys. It has an 18 dex requirement. A spear with winged lugs, longer than standard spears, allowing for attacks from further away. Thrusting attacks are effective against opponents with high defense, but they have... Pardon me, they have a narrow point of contact and won't effectively break through a shield defense. If I wanted to use my torches, you can light these little sconces here, helping you to see better. But I never bothered due to, if you do this correctly and not like how I've been doing this, you're only in here once and you're never in here again. Well, that being said, if you haven't brought your lockstone, you might be in a few times like we have. So placing the stone in the mouth of this contraption, again, a rather featureless mouth, and we'll come very familiar with this as we venture through the game. You can see a projection, a kind of white fog is cast on the wall, and if struck, the illusion is broke. So the illusion can only be shattered if the lockstone is placed. You can't kind of cheese this and skip steps and break the illusion without the lockstone, which is an interesting technology and just shows the genius really of Pharos or his copycats. But who's to say they didn't figure this out from Pharos himself? So it still is his own genius. You have 2 metal chests, titanite slab. Again, the game just throwing them at you here, which is just ridiculous because we've only got a +2 weapon. And the Chloranthy ring. Try and get that out. Now, as I said, the effect on this ring in this game is awful. It's just horrendous. I mean, look at that. I hate it. But the Chloranthy ring, if I read it, I stopped unequipping it. The ring is named for its decorative green blossom, but its luster is long since faded. Raises stamina recovery speed. And it's really interesting because even in Dark Souls 1, the Chloranthy, I can't say it, Chloranthy, whatever, the ring is old. By the time in Dark Souls 1 anyway, it could be found from the Great Hollow, if you recall. You have to do that special drop down from the corpse to get it off the corpse. There's always that sound of a corpse falling kind of around this area, which is just the corpses kind of resetting as you reload into the area. Anyway, we finally reached this man with a wing spear himself, but this is not the wing spear we've picked up, as this is, I believe, if I remember correct, this is unique to him. This is his own weapon. But yeah, this is Pate. Now, the voice actor, I've forgotten his name, but he was and is a big Souls fan. And when he got picked for the role or offered the role of voicing a character, he was overjoyed at that. So it's really nice to see fans of the game being able to work on the game. And yeah, this is just more evidence of that. So Pate, due to Pate giving you a certain something, people first took him as this game's Solaire, but Pate is tied up with another NPC that I've made reference to, Creighton the Wanderer. Now, I've mentioned him, I think, last episode, but if I haven't, a fellow law scholar, Bro guy. Bro, if you're watching this, I hope you're all doing okay, mate. Hope you're having a good Christmas. Bro has done many videos on Dark Souls, and his majority of his Dark Souls lore videos have been on number 2, this game, and his first one discussed Creighton and Pate. Very good video. I will link it in the description, and yeah, definitely go watch it, as not many have really covered those 2 characters and their storyline as Bro has. Many just kind of go with the basic information and happenings that every player encounters, where Bro went more in depth with it, and it was really cool. Anyway, love Bro's videos. Definitely go check them out. Again, I'll link it in the description. Right, anyway, Pate. And if you noticed, actually, before we speak to him, he's wearing the warrior set, if I recall, if that's what it's named, from Dark Souls 1. That set is also Ian B's favourite from Dark Souls 1. And the set he used in From the Dark, except for he modded it to have kind of a black leather effect rather than this tanned. Anyway, it's a beautiful set, and we see it again, and you can obtain it for yourself if you kill Pate or complete his quest.
Hello there. Travelling all alone in these treacherous times?
Yes, I am.
Well, I hope you have a very good reason. Oh, hogwash. Who am I to judge? My name is Pate. I journey hither and thither on a sort of treasure hunt, you might call it. Be careful out there. There's talk of unsavory bandits who prey upon travelers like yourself.
Now, who could he be referencing when he says that last line? Could that tie in with Creighton? Quite possibly. But could he may also be referencing himself due to I keep saying that. Due to Pate's character and this facade of kind of this helpful fellow adventurer. You know, he's on the same path as us. We bump into him many times. He gives us a certain item, which he'll give us in a sec. And again, it leads people into a false sense of security. But due to how his quest and Creighton's quest ends, yeah, it's really interesting. Again, please go watch Bro Guy's video on it.
Oh, yes.
As we unfortunately won't be able to
Cautious
experience this
if you
quest
go any
line
farther.
in this miniseries.
There's treasure in there for certain, but the entrance locks from behind. I saw the same design earlier, and it's the same contraption, I'm sure. I was with this warrior, you see, and he insisted that he go inside first. The rather brusque fellow tried to swipe the loot for himself, but it trapped him inside. I still have the gent's ring. I do hope he wasn't harmed.
Now, again, he is referring to Creighton there, and their last encounter was in the Huntsman's Copse, and we'll find Creighton locked up in a former kind of prison, a former cell used by the Old Iron King in his undead hunts. Anyway, really interesting dialogue. We get his point of view, his account of the story, and in Dark Souls 2, they really lean in on characters having different perspective on events. Of course, we know this from Dark Souls 1 with Quailana especially, which led the lore community in the OG days, in the very early days, down the incorrect path. Again, that was intentional because her motives and her version of the stories is lies and does not truly reflect Izalith, the bed of chaos and demon culture. Anyway, but Pate and Creighton also have different turns and different perspective on events. But due to Pate being mild-mannered and Creighton being more of the feisty one, people often lean towards more Pate telling the truth than Creighton. And Creighton also ties in with Kale, as Kale has dialogue on him. And Creighton's attire is also questionable and kind of handmade or made to replicate a certain something. Again, this is all lore we probably won't get to encounter in this mini-series, but very interesting. But yeah, Dark Souls 2, we've talked about how the events of the past, whether it be deities and happenings, are questioned a lot in this game within its own lore. You know, but some believe it, some people deny it in this game. You know, academies or important people or countries deny things or question things. And we even see that in the NPCs we come across. There's always two sides to the story. Yeah, just really cool. A lot of the themes that are not only found within the lore, but also within the characters themselves.
I'll leave this one to you. I'm worried about what might be inside.
So yeah, he doesn't really seem worried. Do you know what I mean? Due to his voice, he's kind of relaxed. Again, he's mild-mannered, which is his full title of his name, mild-mannered Pate. He doesn't seem skittish or, again, worried for us. And we'll see that this gate drops behind us. Now, was this Pate's intention? Did he hope that we die to swipe our own corpse? Is he the one who pulled the lever or actioned the gate to fall? We don't know, because you don't see him do anything. The gate just drops, and there he sits. Now this is why I said keep the urns. Oh, for God's sake! Honestly, don't. Oh, Jesus Christ! Don't try and roll and then throw something, because your character will just face a stupid way. Oh my God. The broadsword. yeah, a lot goes on in this area. So bring firebombs, bring witching urns, bring projectiles. That's all I'll say. Because it gets a bit hairy, as you'll see, as you've just seen. But yeah, don't roll and then throw. Take that extra time to line yourself up, as you'll just face any which direction, and it will cause you to miss like you saw me do there, which I always do in this game when I never learn. And every time it happens, it always annoys me, but it's always my fault because I know how this game works. And yet I don't abide by its own rules. Never mind. We start seeing more to the fortress than just kind of tall walls. You can see there's clearly rooms that we don't have access to, and you know, windows and such. We see again more signs of destruction, wear and tear. We hear sounds of, if you play the game you'll know it's the hollow soldiers attacking the fallen giant who's now becoming a tree, and that will actually be able to go into his memories there. I've forgotten what memory that is called. And here we kind of get our first sign of the traditional hidden room. Up goes the wall and reveals a chest, and I believe in here's the sorcerer's staff. Is that right? Yep, sorcerer's staff and Ember's herb. There isn't another one until we go upstairs. I believe in the original game there was also an archer that sat atop these stairs, I think, if he's not already here. I can't remember. No, he's not. I swear there was an enemy that used to loiter here. But anyway, there's another one round here, isn't there? I just made this up. Is there not another one? No? I thought there was another illusory wall. Never mind. Could be wrong. But yeah, in this game you kind of tap A and the wall will reveal itself, whereas, you know, in Dark Souls 1 you had to strike the wall to drop the illusion, which of course we had to do with the Faros Lockstone, but you know, the illusion has already made itself obvious by that time anyway. Never mind, I thought there was two. Must just made that up. Get to see a different angle on the castle. Really cool. The arena where we fought the pursuer, and the room that contains the bonfire with the 2D birds that we love to see. If we peer our noggin over the ledge, we see the giant that I was making reference to, and we can see there the hollow soldiers taking a swipe at him. So even once hollowed, they still carry out their duties. And again, someone was clearly running supplies between the walls when the giants attacked and destroyed it. And of course this now affects our navigation. You can see there's, oh no, I was going to say someone's made it there, but you can just walk down here. Enemy ahead. I wonder if he's referencing Pate. Now this is also another thing, maybe many of you haven't noticed this due to not bothering to destroy the cart, but when you destroy the cart you can actually kind of walk up and down this. You know, you don't have to drop down here and then you have to run all the way through to get back up to this point again. Do you know what I mean? If you destroy the cart you can just walk on down. Hello, Pate. We survived.
Well, I see you managed to escape.
I did.
I hope that brave warrior didn't come a cropper either. Be careful out there. There's talk of unsavory bandits who prey upon travelers like yourself.
Now, sorry, I'm losing my voice. Again, these recordings do take it out on my vocal cords due to how long I talk. But he makes reference to that adventurer again. So maybe he isn't talking about Creighton. Maybe he did send someone else through here. But we did loot a corpse. But that looked like he was been, you know, that was just kind of the typical undead, been here for a while corpse. There was no kind of armoured body there. So I'm not too sure. Just interesting. You know, how many people? Is it just that corpse? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? How long has Pate been sat here? And why is he sat here, of all places? Kind of in between, you know, large groups of enemies. There's some that reside in there. There's some over there. There's, of course, some that you have to defeat to get down here. And there's some through here. So, you know, just interesting how he got there. Much like Kale and the whole boulder situation. Just Dark Souls 2 NPCs always seem to find themselves in peculiar situations.
Oh. But you should take this.
The White Soapstone.
It allows undead to call out for help to one another across the fissures between worlds. With luck, somebody will lend you a hand. Well, I see you managed to escape. I hope that brave be kept.
And then he just repeats the same dialogue. Now, Pate, we can summon him to help us with a boss fight. And how NPCs work in this game is you need to, if they can, well, if they're, how am I going to word this? I've messed this completely up. If they have a quest line, it will usually revolve around them having to be summoned into a boss fight, and you'll need to do that for 3 boss fights and have them survive in order to progress their quest line. So if they die as a phantom, keep a homeward bone on you so you can kind of warp out of there and reset and try again. Sometimes, as you know, NPC phantoms, they can be good or they can die pretty quickly. So yeah, that's how you advance quest lines for Pate, Lucatiel, Jugo, and I think that's it who needs summoning. Kale's questline works differently. We'll see when we visit the map in Majula after we defeat the boss of this area. His doesn't revolve around summoning him, it just revolves around flame. And once the map is, air quotation marks, complete, he will give you his armor. But anyway, let's move on. Are they gonna aggro? Oh, no one chucked something at me for sound. Just be careful when coming up onto these 2 enemies, as due to their attacks, it can arc behind them and it can hit you. So just be careful. We finally get to see a giant up close, which is just really cool detail. You've seen all this destruction, all these roots, and you would have heard, if you spoke to her, Melentius dialogue about the giants and how they turn into trees, and that she says, you know what they also say, don't believe an old hag and all this. But here we finally see for ourselves evidence of a giant seemingly turn into a tree, which is why this place is called Forest of the Fallen Giants, which is just, I think, is such a cool name personally. But we see signs of seating, so this must have just been a courtyard at one point. Take a break during battles or training, but now instead of a courtyard, it's a graveyard for another giant. And we're able to climb up onto the wall on the other side. And if you pay attention, you can see that there are enemies facing our position. And if you do have bolts, which I don't think I do, or do I? Where do bolts live? Okay, we don't have bolts because I didn't pick them up. Yeah, I didn't pick them up. I know where they are. They're hidden behind a shelf, and I didn't pick them up. You get 15 wooden bolts. You can use this crossbow, and you can just kind of lock on and aim and do some damage and potentially kill them if they don't fall off or don't retreat back into the building. Have I got any projectiles? I got 1 firebomb. So no point. Yeah, no, there is no point in that. But there's also another way you can, of course, tackle this situation. You can drop down, and you'll see there is a chest kind of taunting you to go down. But there's a lot of enemies down there. I can't remember if there's a illusory wall here. Visions of Hollow. Oh yeah. So you start getting introduced to invisible enemies. There are many invisible enemies in this game. I can't remember if they were in the original version or these were kind of included in Scholar of the First Sin. Anyway, there are invisible hollows scattered throughout the lands that drop certain items upon death. And, you know, light, of course, illuminates them and casts their shadows and makes it obvious. I can't remember if there's an illusory wall here. I don't think there is, although I could be wrong. Is there one? I was going to say I don't expect one to be there because that leads into the room. Anyway, you'll see there was a platform and you actually need to jump across to this, and hopefully I'll pull this off. Yes. It can be pretty tricky due to the terrain. You may clip on it and just miss this platform. But yeah, just kind of aim for this column. That's what I always do, rather than trying to jump it diagonally. And I never attempt it from that angle there. I always do it from the way you just seen. Anyway, this allows you to get the drop. Do I have one firebomb? Because I will use it. We do. Okay, that's pretty good. Did he just try and parry then? Is that what I just saw? I think he did. I've never been parried by one of them, I can say, and I can't remember. I didn't even know they did parry, if that was a parry. Well, interesting. The Mail Breaker, the most useless weapon in all Souls, the weapon that EMB uses to make sure he knows what new game cycle he's on. And it's just as useless in this game. Honestly. I've never used it and never will use it. Yeah. Do you see the damage? Of course, we've +2 the broadsword. And it's pretty decent anyway, but 75 base damage. Nah. Just rubbish. I don't know why they put it in. It must be a joke from Software. Okay, we missed. Oh. I don't know why I'm not running then. I was trying to run. The game just wasn't having it. Haha. Sweet. So, as I mentioned, in the original version, the vanilla version, you can actually see where signs of blast, you know, the wall's taken blast damage, and projectiles have struck it and left scorch marks, presumably. And this also ties in with the war with the giants, because when you go into the memories, you'll see the giants are actually able to cast fire. They can cast fire like pyromancers and hurl that fire, so presumably this is probably left by one of those giant pyromancers. Anyway, in the original game, there was a ironclad knight, a turtle knight here, and due to his attack types, as you see, he does huge arcs and slashes from side to side, and that would set off a chain reaction if he struck an explosive barrel and just explode the whole area, which would often kill him, but may also kill you if you're already on low health. So it was interesting. Very annoying and interesting back in the day, and could make for some entertaining circumstances and situations, to say the least. So we'll observe this after we defeat these enemies, because these spear guys are the most annoying. I don't know why that one's aggroed from so far away, but here he is. So we'll let him come up before we tackle the other one. I don't know where he's gone. He's gone. He's gone. Oh, there's another one now. They're both gone. Where are they going? Where have they gone? Are they trying to reach me? Oh god, that fucking sound always gets me. Have they climbed the ladder? Yeah, I presume they've tried to reach me the other way. Anyway, we'll ignore them. And we'll defeat the one that still remains. 2 and 3. Thank you. So, just really cool. This part of the fort got hammered. Absolutely hammered. You noticed last episode we pointed out the kind of large silhouette of a stone man. Well, this is those men. Huge shields with an even larger sword, and they are facing out towards the ocean, built by the men of Dragon Lake to ward off the giants. You know, the giants are just that, giants, so if you can create something larger than them, then it may just deter them from invading your land, but it didn't, and they came at this fort with full force. So just really cool, like such a cool idea, and makes complete sense. Like I would probably do the same if I was in charge. I know it seems a bit silly and maybe a bit childish, you know, let's make something bigger than them. That's got to work, but you know, desperate times, desperate measures, right? And you know, it wasn't such a bad idea. Now, in Dark Souls 2, when a heavy attack, I've forgotten the right word, the right terminology for this, but you'll notice we go slower after the heavy attack lands, and just be careful of that, because it disrupts your momentum. And even over here, you see oh, the barrel, the barrel is in his way. One, right, he's doing the 4 combo. The next one, thank you. Oh fuck! Oh, I rolled way too early. Again, inputs matter, people. Don't panic roll, because Dark Souls will remember it, and then it will put that input through, causing you to do stuff that you no longer want to do, like that. Roll in the way of the enemy's attacks. Anyway, that heavy attack has this effect where you'll be slowed down in an area. It's like an AoE effect, basically. Just be careful of that when going in and out of enemies' range, as it can be cause you big problems. Oh, hello, sir. So yeah, died quite a few times this episode, which, you know, not really a problem. I'm the parry king, son. But yeah, early Dark Souls 2 for me is harder than early Dark Souls 1. Again, just due to the adaptability and stuff. I find, like, pre-level 50, level 60, you know, I just find it a bit tougher than other titles. They also throw firebombs up here, so you have to be careful of that. Again, they've kept... Oh god. He hit something. Explode. No, over here, you idiots. There we go. Ta-da! Excellent. So you can do it. I believe in you guys. So yeah, as I said, in the original game, mix that with a ironclad knight swinging his big mace around. It made for some interesting times. 2 and 3, thank you. I just saw a health bar fall to their death, so that must have been one of the spear and halberd men that charged us before. Just really funny. I know I should probably do this, but we'll just go and defeat this guy because I'm still salty and we have a score to settle. Come on. I know a lot of new players struggle with these guys because they are very intimidating due to that effect that I've just shown off and discussed. And just the amount of damage these guys do. They can be intimidating, but you just got to, of course, like with all Dark Souls, you got to time your attacks, bait out certain attacks, and the most important thing is know when not to attack. That is more important than knowing when to attack. Definitely. You see, they're pretty easy. They're not really a challenge. More Amber Herb. Again, more destruction. This was a staircase that would have led up to the top of the wall, but now again in ruins. And we can see the damage is so great that even a hand off one of these beautiful huge statues came off. And the head of one has even come off. Again, this ties in with... I was waiting for that to happen. This ties in with the war. And if we were able to take part in the memory in this mini-series, we would see that kind of happen. I just did a mistake then. I locked on, so you saw me unlock. Do not lock on in this area due to the, obviously, platform. So just really cool. They have the Drang Lake set on, I'm pretty sure. But the shield, I think, is unique due to the tridents. You know, of course, the trident and the sea all tie in together. But I do believe their shield is unique, at least the pattern on it. The shield I was thinking it was then is the Cyan shield, which it isn't, because that has a sun, the emblem of a sun upon it, and a Cyan Knight can be found in an area that we cannot yet access in this zone. But we get the halberd, again, very good weapon in this game. I've seen many enemies use it against us. The halberd is fantastic in Dark Souls 1, and it's, you know, it's still great in this game. But the durability on the halberd in this game will give you some issues, so definitely stock up with repair powder, as you won't be able to get away with kind of going bonfire to bonfire with its durability in this game. Or at least I've never found it easy. I've always had to carry repair powder due to it being made of more butter than the other enemies, the other weapons, should I say. Again, not making sense. Been a long recording. It's pretty late at night. My voice is starting to go. Not a good sign. In the original game, in the vanilla, there was a crystal lizard here who I think was in this room. Yeah. And this guy would wake up upon you kind of walking past him, and mix that with the crystal lizard obviously running past and the desperation needed to kill him. It was pretty difficult. You'd often miss the crystal lizard or get struck in the back by that fella. Right. You can light the sconce, but I don't think that does anything. I could be wrong. That may even spawn the crystal lizard. I'm not too sure. But we're not going to do it. We're going to save our torches. Fire arrow. Quite fitting we should find it in this area due to what lies beneath. And we'll reset the bonfire. We'll actually visit... No, we can do this with 2 Estus. I was going to say we'll revisit Majula to upgrade our Estus, but we'll wait. We'll just rest, chill out for a bit, and we'll head back on down. Oh, for God's sake, the wall! See if we can parry him. Do it. Ha ha! There we go. I definitely do advise doing a no life run playthrough. Life run, what am I saying? Life gem playthrough, because they're just too easy, life gems. Too easy. and definitely a crutch. Definitely a crutch. But you know, Estus flash shards at the beginning are so far and few and far between. It makes it interesting, but definitely adds that layer of challenge if you want it. So below is where the elevator leads us. And last episode I tried and speculated where the arena of this boss was. As you can probably tell, it isn't in the direction I was thinking it may be in last episode. And it's rather a much shorter distance from the elevator itself. We see the same kind of pyromancer phantom again, so presumably that is the NPC shade from the developers to help you, the player, and to know what to do and where to go. Because here he is again. Well, here's another pyromancer with a different set of weaponry, so maybe not. That we can't enter because we need a certain key, and we find a key in, again, an area kind of relating to these enemies and fire and stuff, but we won't be able to enter that area this mini-series. We also see, again, more stalactites, stalagmites, whichever ones these are that come from the ground, not the roof. Oh my god, Evans. I'm being messaged when I'm recording. This always happens. Why can't people just leave me alone? Joking. Honestly. Right, okay. Evans, sorry mate. I've had my tea, but thank you. Get my neighbour. Right, so again, so I'm not sure which ones these are, but this cave is old. Again, it's thrown me off now. Someone's called me. It always happens, throws me off. You can see they've broken through this bit, though, due to the wall. So, presumably they didn't know about this cave only until a certain someone fell into it. They decided to, I guess, check out the noise, the groans. So they knocked through the wall and were like, hey, there's a pretty big cave here. And there's also something else that's now calls this place home. So just interesting, you know, because the thing that's in here certainly didn't get dragged down the elevator and through this small crack. And through this small crack, he definitely fell from above. But if you play the game, you'll know that, because it's not the first time you'll see this boss. That's all I'll say. Can I not use it? Why does it do this when it says I can't use it? Am I already human? I'm already human. Oh, I'm in the... I'm in the Champions Covenant, so I can't. You can't you can't summon NPCs. So I do want to show off Pate. You know, I've not done it in a while, honestly, and I do kind of want to show him off. So we will abandon the Covenant of Champions for now. We'll turn to the Far Fire, because let's be honest, I'm not going to rank up in this Covenant during this playthrough at all. So I may join it again, I may not, but it's just worth kind of showing off. The game will be slightly, well, considerably easier for us now in terms of damage. Damage taken and damage received. No, damage taken and damage given, should I say. But again, many new players fall into this trap of joining this Covenant. And yeah, it's just really entertaining to still read those Reddit posts. Oh, we can't... How do we leave a Covenant again? Do I have to... Obviously, I can join the Way of the Bill. The Way of the Bill. The Way of the Blue. See, even I don't know what I'm going to say. Like, it's honestly a coin flip of what my mouth will come out with. If you ever watch The Bill, it's an old soap revolved around police back in the day. I used to like The Bill. Anyway, Way of the Bill.
Oh. Who are you again?
Yeah, you're only joking.
Hi.
Abandon Covenant, there we go. So you can use Solaire to abandon Covenant. You can also use her to track your progress in Covenants. as you can see there.
Satisfied?
Yes, 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 yes. We'll speak to her another point. Again, don't want to get bogged down with too much NPC dialogue. We'll hand in our shards so we can have an extra flask. We see a naked man with 2 Caduce. Is that Caduce? What's it? Cestus. The fist weapons, isn't it, I think?
Is that a shard you found? Here, to see light. However...
What am I doing? I don't need to do that. I need to give you a shard. We have the... Oh my god. The dual ultra great swords. Wow, you don't see them a lot. That guy must hit like a truck. Honestly, the great sword, the ultra great sword in this game is incredible. I have it on my other character, and I may use my other character for the last episode, and take you through a different area. One of the other spokes from this hub. But maybe not. I might do hide, so I might stick with this character. I might use my other character for the next episode. Not too sure. Anyway, we now have 3. I don't want to re-travel to the Farfire, thank you. Back to the Cardinal Tower. Because my other character has my favourite armour set in this game. Bald. Asmon Bald. Thank you for playing, sir. It's not his name, but for those of you who know Asmon, you'll know what I'm referencing. May as well take this guy out. Nah, I tell you what, no, we'll just leave him. We'll leave him. But yeah, you can see we're starting to see summon signs now, so not only does the Covenant of Champions completely remove summoning from NPCs, but also online play. Again, making it even harder for a first-time player who's kind of done it by accident type of thing. Right, you're dead. So we have 2 summon signs now. I think it's Ellie, is it? Or is it Lloyd, or whatever his name is? Oh yeah, Sellsword Luet. Has... such cool armour. He has... Is that Havel's armour mixed with a helmet, mixed with the... what helmet's that? It's not what I think it is. I can't remember what helmet that is. And he has the shields. Pretty cool. Obviously, you can tell he's a tank. I was thought it was Ellie, who is one of the useless... She's the most useless summonable NPC in this game. She has like the claws as weapons, and she's just terrible. Like, she's just terrible. Never summon her. I've never found her any use. But anyway, the man we want is mild-mannered Pate. And I really like what they did with Scholar. In terms of the NPCs, like, they do emotes to you. They just feel more lifelike. And for a player who, back in the day, well, when I played the original Dark Souls, I think they also included them. Yeah, I think they also started to include kind of more summonable NPCs in the DLCs. Yeah, I think they did. And someone who had bad internet and never really got to play online with people at that time in my life, having these NPCs replace what would be an online player was just nice, you know. It made me feel not as lonely. But anyway, Pate doesn't kind of act... He's still a bit derpy. He doesn't act as professional as the new NPCs. But anyway, come on, Pate. Here we go. So here is the last giant. And I made point of the stalactites or stalagmites, whichever ones these are on the floor. Again, this cave is ancient, it's been around for a long time. And that is what impaled the last giant. But seeing us, he's enraged once again from his previous battle in the past. Presumably what enrages him so is the sight of us. The spoilers, we have, again, as I've kind of made reference, we have fought this boss in the past when he went by another name. And, you know, he recognises us. I can't see what I'm doing. You can see he has chains on his feet. He's, of course, impaled with swords and presumably half of a column or stalactite or stalagmite. I think it's an actual carved column. Pate is taking a bit of a beating, so we better hurry up before he dies again, because if he dies, the quest is forfeit. But we have multiple opportunities to summon the NPCs. Oh, of course you got me. Of course you did. Now the last giant. The last giant is it's much easier and better to fight him on your own than with an NPC. Jesus, the swig on this game. I nearly got hit by that attack. Thank you, Pate. God. You can see in anger, in so much rage, the desperation to destroy you, the previous conqueror of that giant. He rips his own arm off and uses it as a weapon so he can have that extra bit of reach, which is just so cool. But as I mentioned, he's impaled on these as he fell through this hole. We can see signs of restraint around his wrists, around his ankles. So upon discovering the giant, although impaled, it seems the soldiers still took precautions and chained him down even further. We also see again more ruins, presumably of the fort above, so it wasn't only him that fell through, but also the structure around him. And yeah, that was the king, the giant king. Again, spoiling it, jumping the gun, way jumping the gun. But he recognises us, presumably, and that's why he springs to life. But it's also an interesting concept how we already defeated the king in the past. And we already received his soul, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think you do. You receive his soul for defeating him, right? However, we defeat the last giant who was the king, and yet we still receive another soul. So how does that work? Do you know what I mean by that? Like, how will we be able to defeat him twice, and not only defeat him twice, but receive two types of soul? How did he reclaim souls? Is my point here. It's just an interesting concept, and not something I hear many people discuss or theorize about. Look at my face. I look like, if you've ever seen the British version of The Office, which is the OG version, by the way, for all you Americans, Ricky Gervais is King. Anyway, there's a character on there, I've forgotten his name, but he's like Ricky Gervais' right-hand man, and he's actually featured in Pirates of the Caribbean. My guy kind of looks like him. You know, if you watch Pirates of the Caribbean and not the British version of The Office, it's the character in Pirates of the Caribbean that has the fake eye and always loses it. I kind of look like him, I guess. A more healthier and less skinnier version. But anyway. So yeah, as I mentioned, the giant fell through. The groans and moans from this fallen warrior, this fallen king, probably echoed through the cave, and then the soldiers hearing this obviously know that sound, that's of a giant. We better go and investigate. Busted through this wall, found this cave, and then found this even bigger cave, and where they shackled him and restrained him further. and he's waited there ever since. However many hundreds of years ago that was, 100, 200, I'm not too sure. But yeah, just really cool. And of course, as a first-time player, you may not make those connections to a later boss. That's also a very tall giant, but it's just cool that they did that. And it's, you know, it's most people's first boss. So by the time you get to the giant, the king, it may go over your head due to you encountering so much after the Forest of the Fallen Giants. What are you doing, sir? Hello. Come here. Just holding his weapon up for some reason. Now, what was dropped, you'll notice, was the soldier key and the soul. It's probably worth going back and leveling up a bit, but we'll read the key first. So the soldier key, much more fancier key than the rest. Key to the soldier's door in the Forest of the Fallen Giants. A fort was erected in the forest to face the giants, but now the soldiers are lost and hollowed. They are enfeebled, but not without honour, and continue to steadfastly defend their country. Now this will open many doors for us, but we'll do that in a sec. Go back to the Farfire, speak with Bearer Seek Lest, level up a bit, and we'll get back at it. Have I got any Titanite actually? We can buy some shards if I haven't. Yeah, we'll go and get this to +3. Again, the only thing I'm not happy about is the range on this, but I'll just have to adapt to it.
I'd given you up for dead. Almost had me worried, really.
Thank you, Leningrad. I'm glad I'm your concern. We'll speak to him again now.
Drat. You're worse than my reckless daughter. Don't spend your whole life in transit, you hear?
That is my quest, however. I have to. And plus, if I wasn't in so much transit, my weapons wouldn't get worn, and I wouldn't be able to upgrade them, and you'd be out of business, because I'm your only customer, it seems.
You'll need souls to repair and improve equipment. I know only of smithing, but souls have many other uses as well. Don't waste your souls on useless trinkets. Think before you spend.
Now, that is completely solid advice, as Dark Souls 2 has a lot for the player to buy. As there's a lot of fashion souls, there's a lot of weapons in this game, so definitely think before you spend. 100%. Not only souls, but also upgrade materials, as you know, if you're a player of these games, some are harder to acquire than others. So yeah, definitely think. Do a bit of research if you must, from the wikis. If you're a first-time player, don't just go wasting your upgrade materials and whatnot on any and all weapons, as you're just going to have to farm them, or farm the souls to buy them again later down the road, and that's just a pain. Speaking from experience, it's just a pain, but it's also a good time to throw on a podcast. Presumably, if you're playing Dark Souls, the only podcast to accompany this game is the one and only Bonfireside Chat, and just chill out and farm, because that's what I do if I have to dedicate a session to farming. But anyway, moving on.
Equipment can be strengthened with rare orestone, but such orestone won't come easily. My girl knows her stones, but she's always out prancing about. Now, there's a time for travels, but you can't wander the world forever. Even you must have someone waiting back home.
And kind of interesting that Leningrad's never really made this connection, but Leningrad is the only one. No, there's others. You know, Kale remembers Creighton. And obviously we are the player, we are the protagonist, the chosen undead, the true bearer of the curse, so we have to not have any attachments to a former life so the player can imprint themselves on their own character. But anyway, just interesting that Leningrad seems to remember, you know, his family and his daughter, whereas of course we, in the beginning intro, really had it hit home to us that we will forget any connections, any relatives, any memories we had in our prior life as we get closer to becoming something new that of a hollow. I don't know, just interesting. Not really thought about that before.
Drat. Don't.
Yeah. Right. What do I need? I need one more, don't I? Yeah. Oh, I don't want to do that. God, I need to put some more. I need to put some weapons in the item box, which is something you don't need to buy in Dark Souls 2, unlike Dark Souls 1. It's available as an option at the bonfire. +4, excellent.
I'll be around.
If you make it back. So we'll probably upgrade adaptability, just because that's what I keep moaning about.
Bearer of the curse, seek soul, seek the king, lest this...
Seek lest. Love to hear it. Now that should make things a bit less painful, but really I only start seeing improvements around 20 to 25. But yeah, I know what they did, and I see what they were trying to do with adaptability. But for me it doesn't really work. I know Saint Riot, reference him again, kind of warms to the idea and speaks about the mechanic in his own Lorethrough. But yeah, I don't know. It never used to bother me, but now, as more of the Souls games have come out, and From Software, of course, have got more under their belt, you see what sticks and what doesn't, and for me adaptability isn't something that stuck, and I don't want to see it in another series. I'm completely fine with it being in this game, of course, because I love this game to death, but I wouldn't want to see it. I wouldn't want to see them attempt it as it has been in this game in another series. So let's fingers crossed it won't happen in Elden Ring 2, which is definitely going to happen. Anyway, which again is crazy to think about Elden Ring 2. I've not even got the first one in my hands, but something to look forward to. Again, as I said last episode, 2014, 2015 and 2016 were just the best. Like, me being a teenager at the time and only having a job at the back end of 2015 going into 2016, and a job that didn't require a lot of hours, so I was still at home most of the time on the PlayStation 4, on the Xbox, you know, before 2016 and all that. I don't know, it was a great time to grow up during Dark Souls. For me, I've been at like the perfect age to really capitalize on having no responsibilities and being able to pour ungodly amount of time into these games. Got a fellow man using the S-Stock there with the Wanderer set. I love the S-Stock, I really do. So let me remember the Soldier's Key. We should probably light a torch actually, as we'll need it for where we're going. Someone in Durham. And don't worry, when accessing ladders, your torch will reappear like so. It won't snuff out. Yeah, it's just that second attack, due to the knockback of the first, it just goes out of range for the broadsword, and it creates problems for me, as I'm not used to a weapon doing that, you know. I'm used to the second always being in range of the first. But anyway, we shall light this. And again, referenced it, Crobat's video, in the original gameplay that we never got. The original version of the game with the lighting and the shiny metals that we never got to play ourselves. They used this as an example of the lighting engine and what players can expect going into Dark Souls 2 with having to manage light and dark. And really just interesting time in the development and ideas they were going for. And this room was also used in a lot of the trailers in the early days. Because Dark Souls 2, what a lot of people don't realise, or remember, should I say, not realise. If you weren't around back then, you can't relate to it, but... or maybe you can. Maybe you can. You may have just not been a fan of the Dark Souls games. But Dark Souls 2 featured at Xbox E3, and that was a big deal. You know, Dark Souls 2, its profile was considerably larger than the first. You know, the series had become established, all this hype from the first game. You know, it slowly dripped in the initial year, and then Prepare to Die came out, and that's when you start to see a lot of traction. And the lore community really took off due to Vati's videos. But of course, before then, E&B was doing his thing, and without E&B, to me, there would have been none of this. E&B laid the foundations for a lot of people, Vati and Dave Control included. We know my views on E&B. We know I love him to death. So E&B is the founder of a lot of interest in Souls from lore and gameplay, due to him living in Japan and having hands on the game before anyone else. But also you started to see in 2013 as well, you start to see a massive uptick in players due to it becoming free on Xbox. I think it was in June of 2013, and some mates of mine said they downloaded it and started to play it. And you know, they told me it was hard, and I laughed at them because they were the type of players who would never be able to get on with this game due to them being the typical FIFA and COD players. So you know, I just was like, yeah, I knew this game would hand you your own arse and kind of give it to you, because this is a game you've never played before. And of course, they never played it again. But anyway, yeah. And then by the time Dark Souls 2 rolled around, there's this huge hype, a lot more interest, a lot more buy-in, and it's just a shame due to, again, we've discussed the development, the changes, Project Beast, From Software, kind of being a bit spread thin due to Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3 being the pipeline, DLCs being planned, the B team being left with scraps of the original ideas for Dark Souls 2 and having to kind of piece them together into a product which was the vanilla game, which again was amazing. It was absolutely outstanding that they were even able to do that, because to me, I've always thought they definitely left with a rubbish deck of cards. Anyway, so my point is, the popularity really affected its downfall of Dark Souls 2, because there were more people to be disappointed. But it was such a cool time to be a part of the community, see Dark Souls, you know, grow up. Do you know what I mean? It was getting more popular, and it just made me proud to see my game do so well and gain so much traction. It was just a nice time to see it out there, see it get recognised, see it be on the lips of more people's mouths, you know, because that's how this game spread, word of mouth. If you haven't read the book, You Died by Jason Killingsworth and someone else I always forget, definitely read it. If you're a long-term player of these games and Dark Souls 1, you'll be able to relate to that book a lot. And they talk about the email chains and groups for the reviewers back in the day, and people trying to figure out the game and get a review out in time, and this emailing group just being full of random disjointed emails, you know, like, what is this? Has anyone else found this? How do I do this? Everyone kind of struggling through, but there was kind of everyone was going through it together, you know. Even though they were all reviewing the game for different companies, everyone was treading down the same path, and it created these connections and this emotion. And there's personal accounts in that book from players, and there's a few sketches of the areas and people who formed relationships and got married due to Dark Souls. It's just such a good book. It perfectly encompasses my love for Dark Souls 1 and the community and what it was like back in the day when everyone was discovering what the hell this game was, Dark Souls. Yeah, if you haven't read that book, You Died. It's usually about £9. Most of the time it's less on Amazon. I'm due to read it again, honestly. I think I gave it to my mate Kiz. I don't know if he ever gave it me back, so I need to go get it back. So Kiz, if you're watching this, if I haven't already got it, please give it me back, as I wish to read it. Again, be careful, because because of that, please hurry up, hurry up. You can get them to fall down. You've got to be careful because there's an archer knocking around somewhere. Oh, for God's sake, guys. This is really... In the original game, they weren't on the roof. So this wasn't as bad. Again, I've spoken about people's gripes with Scholar of the First Sin kind of becoming a gank fest. And this is definitely an example of that design choice. Because the gameplay just becomes this, just running around, trying to use the environment, you know, which is fine, but sometimes it can get a bit frustrating. Like, Scholar, for me, more than most, really punishes you for rushing through the area due to the, as we've said, due to the gank areas. Of course, there's more enemies about, there's more rooms for mistake, more chances to get punished. So if you're just trying to get through an area to reach another area, or because, you know, you're tired and you want to play the game, but you don't really want to deal with the shit this game gives you, but of course you make mistakes because you're rushing, it can just make it more annoying. So you've got to definitely respect Dark Souls 2 like you have with the rest, or else it will stamp on your face. And this area, not only... Now, we picked up the Bastard Sword, should I say, before I'm about to say what I'm going to say. But the Bastard Sword used to be here. Now this is a effigy, I believe. Yep. So the Bastard Sword used to live here, but now it lives on the roof. Again, a different change. Useless information from the original compared to Scholar. So you might think this area is a bit hard, a bit annoying, due to the type of enemies and the amount of enemies that can be found. But it gets better, trust me. We also have an NPC invader, Eredin, and he is a complete cunt. So I can't wait to see him and encounter him again. I love Eredin. I love him. And if you new game or you bonfire aesthetic, you also get a invader who wears the Katarina set. You absolute arsehole. Oh my god. I nearly balls that up then. Right. Oh, and it nearly, because of the lock on, I nearly ended up going off the edge. Jesus. There we go. Come fight me in here, please, sir, and don't knock out the sconce. Honestly, if you got projectiles, you know, you've already picked up like some sorcery. Just if you're rolling sorcery, you've got enough intelligence, just use it against these guys. Sorcery is definitely easy mode. It always has been in these games, but they're just such... It's always such a long drawn out encounter with those guys. You always have to abide by their pace, or the punishment is just too great this early in the game to not, you know, to not do that. You can't set the pace, you can't really stun lock them at this point. So you just have to wait for their strike and then, of course, attack once, roll out the way. Right, you. Before we... Okay, there we go, he's invaded. I was going to say, before we're going to do what we're going to do, we'll go light the bonfire, but he's already invaded. There he is. Make sure you open this chest right away, because he can destroy it, and he will destroy it, and then it'll become rubbish. Dennis. You know, pretty decent damage, but Dennis. He's got a lot of health. He's also got pretty advanced sorceries. But due to his light armor, and we have got the Giant's Ring on, he can be stun locked. But again, the parry definitely helped us. I swear he used to actually drop a physical item, and because of this scaffolding, if you fight an enemy on here, the item will actually drop through the cracks and land in areas that you can't reach, so just be careful with that, because you can't actually get under this, and it can make things very annoying, especially, I don't know if I already mentioned because I was fighting everything and everyone. If you bonfire aesthetic to New Game Plus this, or you simply just do this in New Game Plus, there's an Katarina invader that spawns. Upon his defeat, he will drop a part of the Katarina set. Now, he will only drop one piece, of course, and you'll have to do this 4 times. So you'll have to bonfire aesthetic this area 4 times in order to get the full set, or you'll have to play the game 3-4 times if you don't want to bonfire aesthetic it. But of course, every time you bonfire aesthetic the area, enemies get tougher. So just be careful with that, because you can really make it difficult for you. And of course, the invader also gets tougher. So I will say, just try and like cheese him off. That'll be your best bet. Just hit him off. Use gravity to kill him, as you know, the usual memes won't be enough at this level, especially if you start using bonfire aesthetic, as I've said. We'll light the bonfire. Soldier's Rest. So the Soldier's Key enabled us to enter the Soldier's Rest, but the Soldier's Key also enables us to get to another spot within this ruined fort, and that is the Pursuer. Have I just really done that? I'm an idiot. Why did I do that? Right, back we go. I meant to go to the tower. Oh. I think I've been recording for, I'm not sure, nearly 3 hours now. Oh, an invasion sign. No way. Okay, we've got, go on. I may as well. I don't see the invasion summon sign a lot. The red soapstone. I honestly, I can't remember the last time I've seen that. I think the last time I saw it was in the original game. So, where are they? Where did they spawn? I heard them. It sounded like they're going to appear through this crack. Or was it upstairs they appeared? Upstairs? I don't know where this person is. I don't want to stand near a ledge in case they drop down and kill me. We'll just stay here. Oh, they're here. Hello. Hello. We got a bow. Okay, so we're fighting Zulu the Witch. Okay. Okay, that's just force. And pretty big damage, yeah, but you know, not nothing too bad. Oh, wow. Sorcery. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that sorcery is found in Elysium Lois and ties in with the Ivory King. I think that's his sorcery. And as you can see, it's very powerful. That person had a pretty high dex though. As you saw, the casting of those sorceries was pretty quick. Anyway, we've done that. I got that out of my system. So GG. Again, being killed by a sorcery build in PC, in PvP, there's no victory in that for me, honestly. Oh, for God's sake, the wall! Sod off. honestly, that enemy there causes me so much grief due to the placement. Come on, parry, parry. There we go. And the broadsword, due to the second part of the combo, that horizontal swipe, of course it clips the wall as it's coming from the left, not the right. Oh, sorry, I'm just raging at the smallest things, but stuff like that, like hitting the terrain in these games, always annoys me, because enemies do abide by the same laws, yes, but most often they won't, and their attacks will phase through the walls that mine wouldn't. Do you know what I mean? Haha! I've not been using the R2 a lot, so I should probably start actually doing that. Use a Radiant Life Gem, why not? Right, so the Soldier's Key also opens this door. There we go. And of course this part of the fort has also seen its fair share of battle. And here we see a new type of enemy. Now these, as their gloves just said, are the Royal Swordsmen. They carry what I believe to be Flamebergs, I think. Much more heavily armoured than even the Royal Soldiers that we've seen. Yeah, the Hollow Soldiers, as these are the Royal Swordsmen, so these are a rank above the rest. The gloves of a Royal Swordsman. Their shape provides defense while allowing great mobility. Stripped of ornamentation, these gloves are designed strictly for battle, so there's no ceremony designing these guys. These guys are literally given the task of go kill that man. You know what I mean? King Vendrick supplied his bravest men with the best armour available to face the great giants, but very few returned alive. And this supplying of armour being or very valuable armour to his subjects and men also ties in with the Scion Knights, if I'm pronouncing that right, as the lore on that armour is it was gifted to a certain gifted warrior, very talented warrior, and upon donning the armour he went mad, and the Scion Knights kind of wear the armour to honour his memory and his doings and stuff. But it's just really cool that he put on an armour and it sent him crazy. It sent him crazy and then he was killed by the giant, I'm pretty sure. I don't think he died due to his own madness. Right, finally we're at the top of the wall. The sun kisses our forehead over the fort. It's beautiful. We see the birds at a different angle. We see the obsidian tower, Castle Drang Lake in the background. We see the huge mountain range. You really get a scale of just how big these mountains are. And you hear the waves, of course, again crashing against the jutting out rocks and fort. It's just a really, really pretty place. And here we see the headless remains of the statue we saw earlier from below. And again, this whole strip ties in with the memory of the giants when you face the king of the giant king, which of course we fought before. Well, we've just fought earlier, and he's now known as the last giant. Which we didn't read his soul actually, which I said we were going to. The Lord of the Giants, who had brought wreck and ruin to the entire kingdom, was said to have been felled by an unknown warrior. Us. Spoilers, it was us. His beaten and broken remains were then dragged beneath the stronghold where he was sealed away. Used the special soul of the last giant to acquire numerous souls. So yeah, his beaten and broken remains were then dragged beneath the stronghold. Now, again, giants are made of stone. Stone is a vessel for souls. Perhaps the last giant was able... Perhaps, as I've said, you kill the Lord of the Giants, King Giant, the Don. You kill him and you get his soul. However, you also then kill him in the future and you also get another pretty powerful soul. Stone is a vessel for souls, so perhaps somehow the surviving giant was able to absorb souls of those who fell around him, giant and men, and you know, they slowly over time formed another powerful soul, being this one, which then we can actually hold for ourselves upon his defeat. Do you know what I mean? That kind of ties in with giants and their lore being a vessel for souls. That's the only reason I can really think as to why one enemy drops us 2 pretty potent souls. But anyway, one of the coolest cutscenes in this game, before we go in here, we've already seen him, but he's actually my favourite boss to fight in this entire game, as I really love fighting humanoids in Souls games. He is very easy due to him just being, all you have to do is press right, just literally walk around him in most instances. And this boss room also allows you to do a cheese, which I think is really cool. Again, the developers put it here, so it is intended if you're able to pull it off. If you parry him as he charges at you, you can run behind, go on the trebuchets and kill him, or do severe damage to him before he's able to destroy that said trebuchet. Just really cool. But the fight in general without the trebuchet I just like, and the fact that you fight him multiple times throughout the game, again, I just really like. We'll talk more about the pursuer probably next episode, as we're getting towards the end now, guys. My voice is packing in and we're near the end of this area once this guy's defeated. But anyway, time to watch one of the cooler cutscenes of this game. Oh, it's just dead cool. Like, look at him. And he levitates as well. He floats. He's so cool. Now, we're going to try and parry him. No, I can never parry him. I just can't do it. Now, he has a red eye. Oh, shit. Which we saw. He also emits some kind of abyss substance. Now, creatures of the abyss and beings affected by the abyss having red eyes is something we're familiar with in the Souls series. You know, Manus and the people of Utherseal, as an example. So presumably that is why he has a red eye. Like, maybe. I love his boss music. I just love him. I love his sounds. He has some really cool attacks. Some are more unique than others. Hopefully we'll be able to get to see the real special one. What gives him his name, really, or the type of hex that was named after him. Named Pursuers. That attack where he strikes out with the blue blade will actually curse you. I think, anyway, if you get hit with that, he will become more aggroed and do more damage. So you don't want to get hit with that attack right there. You don't want to get hit with that attack. Again, the blade's blue just really reminds me of Bilbo's sword, Sting. Again, there's no orcs or goblins around, but it's just really cool. That attack is the most easiest to exploit. As you can see, it's just, you don't really have to roll, but I always roll. And that one, again, he will just go over your head. His armor's got some real neat details. You can see he has a quiver filled with the weapons of presumably the people he's defeated. And his armor too, he's got faces pushing through his armor. You know, souls of the people he's defeated, or maybe the demons that are inside of him, you know? Just really, really cool. And yeah, he's dead. Soul of the Pursuer and the Ring of Blades. See the head there, cracked. Allows us to pass through. That head used to belong to that statue. Again, the ruins. This was once a site of battle. And it has become one yet again with the Pursuer Just really, really cool. So we'll read his soul. The pursuer who seeks the bearer of the sign will not rest until his target is slain. So we are, of course, the bearer of the sign, but then all dead are bearers of the sign. So this ties in with presumably his abyssal-like features and his red eye. Is the slaying of the bearers of the sign giving him those abilities and those faces pushed through his breastplates? You know what I mean? Has he absorbed the souls of those he's defeated, and now he also acts as a vessel and uses their souls as power to continue his quest? As I've mentioned, there's more to the pursuer. He, although defeated, he appears in other places and he actively pursues you, of course. But also in New Game Plus, there is 2 in Drangleic Castle, implying that there are many of them. So who is manufacturing these? Could it be Nashandra, due to the location of where the 2 appear and the abyss points I've made? Just really interesting. It makes sense because his task is to seek the bearer of the curse, but also the pursuer has lore attached to himself. We'll read that if we ever get to his shield and sword, which can be purchased from Strain, if I'm remembering that sorcerer's name from the Lost Bastille. But we may get there, we may not. But yeah, it's really cool. We'll read the Ring of Blades. Increases physical attack. The Ring of Blades is modelled after the Mad Knight of Alking's weapons of choice. Increases physical attack. So, is the pursuer the Mad Knight of Alkin? And Alkin is a former kingdom. Alkin and Ven have connections due to their belfries and prince and princesses. The kingdoms of Alkin and Ven long ago flourished on these very grounds. They were both founded by the same man, but were reduced to rivalry and spite. So this also ties in with the Old Iron King. I touched upon these 2 kingdoms last episode, and I said I need to brush up on the lore with the happenings between these 2 in Drangleic and the Old Iron King. You know, they all connect together, and I'm not too sure the timeline of all of them if I was to lay it out flat. But just really cool. So again, is the pursuer the Mad Knight Alkin? Because he certainly looks pretty mad. Or is this just a relic of a former soul that he's slain? And we'll go and investigate over here, guys. We'll just fire the trebuchet. It's ballista. Sorry, I've been calling it a trebuchet, and it's a ballista. Forgive me. The trebuchet is not what that looks like at all. So if I haven't already corrected myself in post, thank you for your comments if you've left that. But right now, near the end of the episode, I've finally corrected myself. Again, Drangleic soldiers still carrying out their duty. And this entrance is where we'll come out of in the past. It's really, really cool. We have a nest, and we can examine the nest, and it'll take us to a new location. And we also have an area to fall down here. And we'll read the equipment. Great swords of Drummond, Royal Army Captain. An old and unadorned sword, perhaps, but the pride and joy of this venerable captain. An heirloom passed from grandfather to father, and then from father to son. Drummond and those before him used this sword to repel those who would threaten their great land. Again, I talked about how long the war with the giants lasted and made reference to it being many generations, and here the sword confirms that. We'll read the armour. Drummond's ancestors have served Drangleic for generations, principally as defenders of the great fort, but Captain Drummond is the last in this proud line. Just really sad when you think about it. Whole families devoted to the protection of their lands. You know, family lines, bloodlines, family names extinct due to this war, and all of it for naught. As even though the giants were seemingly defeated, the curse ended up taking everyone anyway. So, you know, real sad. It even took their king. Spoilers, but if you played the game, you'll know. Drummond's ancestors, yep, just say the same again. We'll read the leggings. Do they have any more juicy info? No. And the helm, you may notice, be missing. And that's because that ties in with a certain Captain Drummond. As I mentioned, we can go into memories. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. So I'll leave it in this rather awkward place before dropping down and dealing with him again. I just want to say thank you guys for watching, of course. It's always a joy. I'm really enjoying this mini-series. I hope you're all having a very merry Christmas. God, I always ruin the outros. But yeah, I hope you had a good day. I hope you had a nice time with your family. And I hope you're relaxed and just having some downtime. And yeah, I hope I've offered you some comfort during this Christmas period. So again, expect next episode tomorrow. And of course, that'll be the final part of this mini-series. It'll definitely be sad to see it go, but just be excited for the future of this channel. Potential future series of Dark Souls 2 after we've got Elden Ring out of our systems. So, anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I shall see you in the next one. Goodbye.